just because there's a delay between us and the audience. So, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us. So, for those who don't know, this is Ty Tucker that we have on screen here right now. And thank
Yeah.
you. Special thanks to the people I gave some wrenches to just now. We need the extra muscle today. I'm not expecting too much drama, but just in case, we know there's drama going on. But so I put us on a low sub time for this show. So, this might probably introduce a bit more drama than we're used to, guys. So I'll leave it to you guys to take care of that. And thank you all again. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take you from the top with this case because just to introduce you guys to why I decided to look into this case. Most of you know back when I first started this channel, I wasn't monetized, and I was originally interested in one specific case of a missing child. Then I sort of discovered that people were exploiting children on the YouTubes for money, and I detested that. So I covered, I think, one or two more cases with kids, and then I went, no, I'm not doing this anymore. That's ridiculous. So when your case came up, it was a treehouse murder. So to us, it was involving kids. So I didn't look into it back then.
Hmm.
But what I did see was, I think, your closing arguments at one stage, and I realised that it wasn't about kids, and it wasn't even about a treehouse. So,
Well, I mean, it looked like a treehouse. I mean, but no, it was just a platform on a platform on a platform. But yeah, but
exactly. And so I did actually avoid it because I thought it was about kids and I didn't want to exploit kids. But in
right.
even the monetization that's come about, I never wanted to monetize because of that exploitation. But I also didn't want to be tied to the YouTube, be a slave to it, if that makes sense, and start relying on income coming in from that. But what happened was I bought a block of land up in Queensland, and I got ripped off by a scam artist on the internet pretending to be a local business for about
Oh
$9,000.
no.
And then when I ordered some building materials from overseas, it got caught up in customs. That cost me another $10,000. So my little
Oh.
tiny home project got blown out by 20 grand. And I went, well, heck, now I have to be a slave to the YouTube. So that's
Well,
kind of how we ended up here. Now I know that your
yeah,
case
from
is
right here
not
though,
about.
you're doing really well with it. Everybody seems to like your channel, so
Yeah, it's
I've talked
good.
to some of the other law tubers out there, and they just seem to everybody seems to enjoy your channel.
Right. Well, we try to do the right thing here, like not exploit children, for starters,
Yeah.
and stand up for victims. So we do try to do the right thing here, and so that's what I'd
Yeah.
like to do for you today is do the right thing because this case has so many layers. It's like peeling an onion. As soon as you get the first layer, there's
Oh, yeah.
another and another
Like
layer.
this is a rabbit hole upon a rabbit hole upon a rabbit hole. I
Right.
mean, which is why, okay, that's why I'm actually converting the channel that we have. I'm converting it over now to the truth behind the treehouse is actually what the channel is going to be called now.
The truth
It was
about.
the Yeah, it was the free Franklin Tucker. It was the free Franklin Tucker channel at one point, right when I was going through the case. But we put most of the videos and that came with the case went on the YouTube channel. We
Right.
did have a gag order put on us for a while, and so we had to stop putting them up for about 3 years.
Right.
But there's some new video. There's definitely some new stuff. But at the same time, we'll be putting those up there and updating that too. But eventually, what we're going to do is all the audios, the 911 calls, we'll put those up there, and we'll put all what videos are missing, and we'll put those up there. But I mean, there's literally, I think there's like 2,800 hours worth of video. Something,
Right.
and that was just originally. That was actually just the original discovery. Now,
Right.
not all the stuff that we have now.
Right.
So,
So I
you know,
will
so,
put links in the description after this because I didn't want you all to go over there and get the lowdown because I really want Ty to be able to tell the story without
well,
the
we're
low.
not done. We're not done revamping that one yet, anyway. So I mean, that's good. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, look, that's going to be a work in progress, just because I mean, look, there's a lot of stuff to upload for that thing. I mean, after
Right.
7 years, there's a lot of evidence that we lots of different stuff that had come out.
Right.
So
So let's
so I
start.
mean, take a
Start.
second.
Before this crime happened, um, who were you? What happened to you to make you, I guess, a suspect? Like, because you just ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time, is what I'm making of it. But please tell us what happened leading up to this crime and where you were living and why you were living there.
Okay, it's pretty simple. Okay, before this, hey, what's up, guys? I'm actually seeing a few people. You know, how did you have the courage to go pro se? That was crazy. Yeah, well, we'll get to that part. I mean, that was not my
We're
original
gonna,
plan.
but
So
that's why we're going from the start, guys, so that
yeah,
you
we'll get
understand
to that,
how
guys.
it came about. So,
But I mean, actually, you're going to learn a lot. Because I talked to Aussie here about it, and we talked about doing it as a series for a second, just because there is so much. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and I mean, what you guys got at trial is about 10% of the entire case, right? So I mean, when we start going over this, I mean, it's good for me too, because going into these lawsuits, it's kind of good for me to start at the beginning, and we're going to end
right,
up,
so you're in
going
the
through it.
middle of it all. So you're in a different headspace to what everyone else is. You're in the middle of all of this. You've had so many trials and hearings and all
Oh
sorts
yeah.
of stuff going on. But the audience does understand that when we talk about, for example, we introduce someone new to the Karen Reed case, we kind of got to start at the start, who she was, how she ended up getting
Right.
to
Right.
that.
Exactly. Because I mean, that's where it all came from. I mean, look at Bill's, all that misconduct and everything they did, just literally all they did was kept doubling down on the dirty they did before. Right.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
okay, they would do something dirty. We would catch them. Right.
But you
Well, then they would do something dirty
start
again.
with that first layer where they decided they needed to cover things up. So, first layer of the onion is how did you end up in the predicament where you became one of the suspects in this case?
Well,
So, prior to
that's gonna kind of blow your mind even right off the rip. So here's how it went down. Is okay at the
start with
time.
the hurricane, so that
Yeah,
people.
at the time it started at the hurricane, right? So before that, I was actually, working on, fixing boats. I did a little bit of construction on the side, but I mean, that's what I did for the most part, right? As I would do bottom jobs on boats, and, do some, fiberglass repair, stuff like that, right? And the whole reason I was even doing that was because I was fixing up my own boat to go ahead and sail the Caribbean. That was the idea, right?
Right,
And I was going to take my son with me. My son was 14 at the time, and he was going to come down there, stay with me, and he was going to stay with me for the summer, just because we weren't sure whether or not he was going to like it down there. I mean, he's from Arizona, but he liked the idea of being on a boat, and he liked the idea of sailing around, and we could always do the school. He could still go through school even doing that. But the thing is okay. So that was the plan, the original plan, right?
yep.
Um, but then here comes Hurricane Irma, and you know how it is, man. Life has a funny way of thinking. I've learned my lesson now on that one now, because I was 46 when this happened, and I gotten to a point in my life where I thought I thought I had my kind of had it together. I knew what I liked, I knew what I didn't like. I thought I'd seen good, I'd seen bad. So I thought I had a good plan, right? Oh no, 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 no. No, that plan was not good enough. Because sure enough, here comes Hurricane Irma, and like a lot of people, because you asked me, how I became homeless, and and they made a big deal about that. The prosecutors tried to make a big deal out of it, but I mean, it's like I told you. I mean, how many people were homeless? A lot.
A
You're
lot.
talking about a hurricane comes by. There were boats piled up in the streets. There were total neighborhoods that had just gotten leveled. And originally when that happened, there weren't very many of us down there, right? Because they weren't letting people back down, right?
Yep.
Because they actually evacuated the keys for that one, and some of us like me, I mean, I look, I've never left for a hurricane, not one, and it's not because I'm trying to be macho or anything like that, but look, I was working right up until the winds started getting around 75 miles an hour. That's when it was time to go inside.
Yeah.
Because we're working boarding up things and trying to board up people's homes and that kind of stuff and protect them from the hurricane. So that's what I was doing. Just when the hurricane hit. Um, so after the hurricane, that's when the hurricane blew by. Well, because there wasn't very many people down there, and obviously you're not going back to work at your normal job, right?
Yep.
But there was a lot of stuff that a lot of work that was in hurricane cleanup, right? So
Right.
that's what we were doing, and actually everybody was doing that. Even Rory Wilson was doing that. Travis not so much, because Travis came down later. Actually, is what happened with that one.
Yep.
Travis actually came down from Detroit with some other dude. His name was Scotty. But the thing is I want to say Scott Gideon. Oh no, it's Maddie Gideon. So his name was Matthew. Anyway, but
Yeah.
the thing is, you got to forgive me too because I'm trying to remember things from a long time ago now too.
A long
And
time
like,
ago. That's all right. We'll
well,
bear
and I
with
mean those guys. I mean, it's not like I knew them that well, right? I mean, they just came down. They had just come down prior to this happening. So,
So
anyway,
you all ended
so,
up at a place called the Warehouse, which is, from what I can gather, a lot of people had mentioned the hurricane. That's the
yep.
reason that we ended up there at the Warehouse. So this is
Well,
like
the
chill.
warehouse, yeah. Well, the warehouse, I mean, it was a good place to hole up for the hurricane. I did hole up there for the hurricane. But because it's a big steel building and it was up on, it's actually steel and concrete, but it was raised off the ground so that, when the storm surge came in, then, I mean, hell, even the next day, after the hurricane, I remember going out on the front porch of the warehouse and, that it was still it was about chest deep, as far as the water. So, you got to worry about those kind of things if you're going to stay there. And it was one of the safer buildings. So,
Right.
but I mean, but okay, I wasn't staying there at the time that the actual crime happened. That actually came later because I forget exactly. I think Hurricane Irma hit in like September, I want to say,
Yep.
and the crime actually happens on November 17th, right? So
So
okay,
you'd only just left the Warehouse at this time. Is that right?
no, I only stayed there for a little while because actually because oddly enough because I didn't get along with Rory Wilson's girlfriend. That was one of the big things. And they were having look those two they were having domestic disputes all the time, right?
So
I remember one time.
just to ask you a
Well, I remember.
question. Is
Yeah,
Rory's girlfriend the one who was 9 months pregnant with a 7-year-old? I remember Phelps
that's
saying,
exactly that's the woman, right?
okay, carry on.
Um, you know, but they lived in an apartment that was in the back of the warehouse, right? And the thing is April, I mean, of course, being pregnant, she was having a little bit more difficult time, because you got to remember, we didn't have power, we didn't have water, we didn't, we were eating MREs, that kind of thing for a little while, right? I forget how many weeks that was, but yeah, I mean, it took a little while before we got
Right.
services again. And for a woman who's pregnant like that, I mean, yeah, I mean, it was not the most comfortable of
Of course.
circumstances
You
for her.
didn't know them, you didn't
Now
know
that
these
isn't.
people, like you just all got ended up there because of the hurricane. You didn't know them before this, did you?
No, no, no. I mean, because actually Rory Wilson and April came down because I met them actually at the
Right.
homeless shelter. But Rory was working at Burger King at the time, and he went ahead and cut a deal for the apartment in the back of that place, and got out of the shelter. And then that one, I was actually at that point, man. It's like okay, if I remember right, yeah, I see, because that was again, it was
Yeah.
after the hurricane. So he went back, he went back to work at Burger King or something. I forget how that worked. Anyway, but the point is I didn't know them very well because they had just come down too. They come down
Right.
from Miami. That's where they were
Right.
before this. But I had been in Key West for, I don't know, probably about 2, 3 years, prior to this. And look, I've been going down there since what? I think the first time I went there was like
Yeah.
13 or 14, right? And like I told you, I was 46 when the crime happened. So, it's I've been going down there over the years. I don't know. I don't know how many times, but I know my daughter was born there. I lived there for about 5 years during the early 90s. But so I was pretty familiar with Key West, and had quite a few friends. I had a lot of friends
So
down there. Still do actually. I shouldn't say did. I still do have a lot of friends down there. I just don't plan on going down there to see them anytime soon.
yeah.
But anyway, so back to the story. It's like, okay, so it's the hurricane comes by, and everybody's working hurricane cleanup, right? Actually, Rory Wilson and I worked together for a very short period of time. It was probably, I don't know, a couple days if I had to say it, right? Because okay, what I was making the best money at was going up in blue
Yeah.
tarpon roofs. Because okay, when these roofs get blown
Right.
off, right? Now FEMA will do it for free, right? FEMA actually does it for free, but the rich people, the rich people don't want to
Right.
wait for it, right? They don't want to wait in line for FEMA. Because then one of the things is in order to get your insurance money, you have to prove that you tried to protect it, protect your house from
Yeah.
from further damage. And one of the requirements is a blue
And
tarp in your roof.
Key West is mostly
So
an upper class area, isn't it?
oh yeah, I mean yeah, Key West. I mean there's no such thing as affordable housing in Key West. So thing is because even Rory Wilson's his apartment. I mean, you gotta remember this is an illegal apartment that's been built into a
Yeah.
commercial building,
Yeah.
right? And he was paying. I want to say he was paying like $1,000 or $1,500 a
Oh
month
my
for the
God.
place. Those rooms that everybody was staying in upstairs, the one I ended up staying in, those were grand a month, and you get a room and you share a kitchen and a living room and a dining room with a bathroom
Right.
with other people. That kind of living is actually kind
Yeah.
of common down there. So they call it conch houses is
Right.
what they call them. But this one happened to be a legal conch house because the guy was subletting part of this commercial building, and it turned it into kind of crappy apartments, but
Basically
whatever.
taking advantage of
Um,
people who were made homeless by the hurricane.
well, and he'd been doing it. Look, he'd been doing it for years
Mm.
prior, right? And oddly enough, here's the one that man, here's one that never came up in trial. That and most people have no idea because it very rarely comes up. It got fought about over the case. And it's somewhere in there we had a hearing on it. But the thing is okay. One of the judges it's a judge down there. His name's Judge Koenig, and he was actually one of the
Oh my
owners
God.
of the building, right? So he was actually collecting money on this building, right? And they were at the time when the hurricane happened, they were trying to evict Rory Wilson and his girlfriend, right? But he's also the judge that signs the warrant to go in and search Rory Wilson's apartment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, a serious
He's
conflict of interest
given
there.
a
That should
warrant
never
to
happened.
search his own tenant in his illegal warehouse.
And not only in his illegal warehouse, but in one where he's trying to evict that tenant out of an
Right.
illegal residence. You know what I mean? So he's trying to
Jeez.
evict the guy, and then goes ahead and writes his own
Yeah.
search warrant on the place. And you know what Judge Jones ruled on that? That was funny too, because Judge Jones, we go through this whole hearing, and man, he rules that Judge Koenig didn't have any financial interest in the building. And it's like, the guy's collecting rent checks every month. How is that not a
Right.
financial interest? You see, this comes up a lot during the whole case. It's like, okay, these kind of common sense, like, okay, this is not how you do things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this comes up. It's kind of a standard theme in the entire case. Actually, we used to have a term for it. We used to call it they were incompetently corrupt, because yes, it was a very incompetent investigation, very incompetent prosecution, all that, but it was also, I mean, it's also
Mm.
corrupt as hell. You know what I'm saying? So they're corrupt, but they're just not
Mm.
very good at it. So anyway, so the thing is okay. Back to the story here. So after after hurricane comes through, and I'm working on these roofs, right? And Rory only worked it for a second because I mean, if anybody saw him, he's actually he's kind of a big boy, right? I mean, he's like what I want to say he's like 6'1", 6'2", probably weighs on probably weighed like 280, something like that. He's kind of a
That's
big
the
boy, right?
that was
And
given to
he was
him by one of the victims too, by the way. 6'2", big boy, a little
yeah
bit scary.
yeah. I mean, he's a big boy. And the thing is I mean, he was scared to get up on the roofs, and which I understandably so. He's a bigger boy. I mean, and you're walking around on roofs that are damaged, So I mean, I almost fell through one time, but I mean, hell, they were paying me $300 an hour cash to get up there and do it,
Yeah.
right?
So
And normally I don't like roofing at all. I hate roofing, but you know what? For $300 an hour cash, yeah, I'll get up there and do it. I don't care. I
so
mean,
the
that's good money.
point being is you
So
weren't short of cash. Like, it's not like you could afford a $2 million lawsuit, but you weren't short of cash. So you didn't need to rob it.
no, not at all, actually. Yeah, that was one of the things actually that came up. I see some people, man, in the chats coming up. Hey, I heard this at trial. Yes, you did. When I took the stand, this is actually, some of what I told, when I
Yeah.
was on the stand. I'm giving you guys a little bit more
Because you're
detail, but this is some of the stuff.
because you're allowed
Huh?
to. The judge was shutting you. Good.
Oh yeah. I mean, look. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely allowed to, and I mean, look, they didn't want to hear all the details, man. When I was at trial, they just wanted to get in the cross exam, which Lord knows, I mean, Mansfield sucked at that anyway. He was pretty shitty with
So
his cross.
the point
And what's funny
the
is I
point
knew
of
he would be.
talking about your income at the time is that you didn't need to go rob someone. And this ended up being a robbery. They
No,
called it a
no.
robbery gone wrong. This is where it starts. And so that
Yeah.
night, where did you sleep that night? The
Oh,
night
the
of the
night of the
crime, where were
crime.
you sleeping?
Okay, I was actually at the warehouse that night. I've been drinking all day. I mean, like I said, which is again kind of common in Key West. I don't know if you've ever been there, but yes, I mean those people, man, they pour whiskey in their Fruit Loops. Um, you know, breakfast, bin, lunch, and dinner. I mean, it's kind of an expectation down there. I probably drink more down there than I do anyplace else. But the thing is okay. So, and you got to remember time of year too, right? Because okay, this actually plays into how I get pulled
Yeah.
into this thing. But at the time of the year it is okay. They have what's called Fantasy Fest
Right.
down there, right? It's kind of like Mardi Gras, and they have parades and they have all kinds of festivities going on, and it lasts about I want to say it lasts about I don't know 2-3 weeks, something like that, right? But they have the one is the big parade, the main parade. That's the big night, right? But I mean, it's kind of crazy because okay, people are actually allowed to walk around naked, which I mean, that's kind of a weird thing. I mean, hell, if you're working as a server in a
Right.
restaurant, have like 4 people come down and sit at a table buck naked and be like, oh well, I think you'll probably have the burger and you're gonna have a small fry, aren't you? Whatever. But the thing is, so you see a lot of weird stuff
Mm.
on those nights, uh, but but everybody loves it though because that's when the
Right.
money's good, right? Because that's when we make our money, right? So and that's kind of it was kind of that was one of the things that it's kind of offensive during the trial, I guess. I mean, because Mansfield and the prosecutors are sitting there and they're just like talking about it like it's disgusting that people do this when really and everybody in Key West does this. I mean, that's our time of the year. We go, we work, we party. That's what we do. You know, and we do a lot of it during that time of the year. So it's just how it goes. But anyway, so Fantasy Fest that particular year, the main parade was actually on Halloween night. It was on October 31st, right? And and I actually have the picture somewhere. I still have it in my Facebook. But anyway, so that night I was hanging out and I was at the parade and I was hanging out actually outside my favorite bar. Actually, it was a toss up between that one. It was a toss up between the Green Parrot and the Hogfish that were my favorite bar at that point, right? But But okay, so I was hanging out that night, and we called it the party bench. There's a bench. It's actually, oddly enough, it's not even a block from
Right.
the courthouse. But anyway, we were hanging out there because okay, my friend had his dog, right, and they wouldn't let us in there, right, because of the dog, and it was because it was packed full of tourists and packed full of people, right. So we, normally we could bring them in, but we couldn't bring them in that night. So we're out there on the party bench and we're hanging out, and a couple cute girls come by, and they're like, "Oh, let us paint your face," look, let's paint your face. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure, no problem, go ahead," right? And but that plays into this. It actually does come into the case here. So just understand that this decision actually ends up affecting me. So anyway, so they paint up our faces and they have us pose, and they're like, give us knife for me. It's like a plastic fucking sword or whatever, whatever it is. But they, do the whole pirate thing, and they're just like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry about the. By the way, I'm sorry about the camera. I'm actually using a
Right.
phone this time.
We're
We
getting a lot
decided
of
to go ahead and get this
scratches
one.
over your voice. So if you can like not put your thumb near the microphone, I think that might be what it is.
Oh yeah. Let me see if I'm probably holding it right from there. All right,
Yeah,
let's see if that'll work better.
yeah,
Can you
that's
hear me?
heaps better. Like it was muffling you, plus also the sound of, as Kevin said, rubbing off the
There we go.
mic.
There we
Sorry.
go.
But continue. So
All
they
right,
got you
cool.
to paint your face, and this is significant because this photograph is used against you at some stage. So continue on with that part of the story. So
Yes. Yes, exactly. So the girls are like, okay, well, look scary, and they take some pictures of us, and it's actually me and this guy named Ben, right? And what's funny is okay, we both have these pictures. They're pretty much the same. I mean, we're both wearing makeup and beads, and we're posing with this knife and looking scary, right? Anyway, but this comes into it. So so we go ahead and we do this whole thing, and I go about my business and I party. I actually ended up, not to brag, but I ended up with a dirty nun for the night. I was actually very happy, you know. So I did okay that night, But
right.
so so I mean, I had a good time. But here's the problem: is that good time, yeah, it turned out to be not so good later. Anyway, so when the crime happens now fast forward, we go, it's a couple, what, it's happens on November 17th. So 17 days from that is when the crime goes down, right? And it happens to be, I took that picture, that we had, because we had them take pictures with our cameras too, right? So we go ahead and had them do that, but I put it up as my Facebook profile picture probably that same night, or maybe even the next night, I don't know, but somewhere right around there. So anyway, so I go ahead and use that picture as my Facebook profile picture, right?
Right.
So of course, not thinking ahead of time. Yeah, there you go, you got it. Now, I mean, I guess I do kind of look scary. I mean, I got to give it to look, I did a good job. But the thing is, so that was kind of the whole point. Is look scary, and it's Halloween. What do you But the thing is okay, who the hell is going to think, I'm dressed up as Halloween, and man, I'm dressed up for Halloween or whatever, and man, somehow it's going to come back to bite me in the butt, man. I'm going to get charged with homicide over it. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I mean, people just don't think that way, right? I
This is
mean,
a plastic knife that you've got here, right?
right, exactly.
Plastic knife, a
So
costume, plastic beads around your neck.
right, yeah, you can tell, man. I mean, I'm partying. I'm saying this is, I mean, but I mean, look, I do look scary, but I mean, that's what they wanted. And cute girls ask you to look scary, you look scary.
Right.
Whatever.
Halloween, like everyone's gonna be scary on Halloween. Just to
Right.
fill you in, we've had our own shenanigans in the Karen Reed case regarding Halloween. Some people put like decorations out on their lawn, and
Yep.
with those decorations attached the names of some of the main players in the Karen Reed case that we think are, part of the shady business. And then of course it ends up on social media that, oh, these are death threats. It's like, no, this is Halloween
No.
decorations. Like, hello.
Right. Right. Yeah. People. I mean, people have a tendency to take stuff like that too far. We actually we said something about the original prosecutor because, okay, one of her Halloween costumes, you know, for Fantasy Fest, right? She dressed up in, it was like a maid's outfit or something, and she had a platter where she had fixed it so her dog's head would actually come up through the platter and had
Oh
blood all
yeah.
over it and all this other stuff. And I remember, we're like, well, look at that picture. Maybe you're the killer.
Yeah,
You
right.
never know. But so I mean, that's the way it works.
Trying to find a
Oh,
killer
thank you,
through
Scott.
Halloween.
I was, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Jody, for clearing that up for him. But okay, so moving onward. I mean, okay, so we do the Fantasy Fest thing, and do the partying thing and all that stuff.
Because Jody has
And
joined us so late, I just want to let her know, don't jump too far ahead. We are starting at the start, my dear, because not many people know this trial. We've got one or two in the audience who watch little bits and pieces during the trial.
yeah,
So don't drop too many hints, all right? We got receipts, we've got several shows that we're going to do, and we're going to show all the receipts. We're going to go through this step by step. So
yeah,
today is really how did we get to Ty being charged? So just for today, and then
uh,
we'll move on to what happened after that, and also how he ended up pro se. So we'll hopefully get to those two things today.
yeah.
Sorry,
Well, yeah. No,
Ty.
no, no. I mean, and look, I mean, I didn't start out pro se. That actually comes much closer to the end, and it actually goes along where we get
Right,
to the culmination of the misconduct.
right. So
So I mean,
so hang
that's
on to
that
your
was my decision.
stop with the spoilers. Hang on to your horses. We're gonna get there.
Yep, exactly. We'll get there.
Okay.
And it's kind of a again, what's funny is there's a lot of people who want this story right now. I mean, they got I'm meeting with documentary people this week. There's a podcaster that I talked to today who's got a hell of a podcast coming up about the whole damn thing. So you guys are getting kind of the preview, I guess.
Right.
Anyway, so thing
So
is
a lot of this
huh?
was a lot of these arguments that you're going to talk about just today were held back. You weren't allowed to present them at trial, so it's good for people to listen who only watch the
Oh
trial
yeah, I
because
mean, there's a lot of stuff I wasn't allowed to present at trial. I mean, look, Judge Jones.
right.
A lot of people don't know that part either. Is he
Yeah,
had a hearing.
don't
Yeah,
go there. We're gonna
yeah.
cover
Well, I'll say that. Yeah,
I've
matter of
actually
fact, yeah,
got
well,
that
yeah. I'll stop myself right now.
I've got
Anyway,
that
so
hearing set up here.
back to the partying, right? So we go back to the partying, and man, okay, and yes, I'm still working at the time. It's like again, still doing hurricane cleanup, but I'm partying pretty much every day. I mean, it's like again, we're drinking all the time. I mean, smoking weed. And man, yes, some people are smoking crack or whatever. Whatever else they got. What I'm saying, who knows? I mean, so I mean, it's just that I mean, there are people doing all kinds of crap. I mean, again, Key West is kind of known for that. It just is what it is. People down there is kind of a more of a carefree kind of lifestyle. And look, and it literally is. Look, it's kind of a live and let live atmosphere. You know what I mean? Look, like I said, I knew who Paula was before this, right? Before the crime actually goes down. But I mean, again, it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, people do whatever they're going to do, but that doesn't, it's like, okay, whatever, I don't, it's none of my business. You know what I mean? I worry about what I'm doing,
Right.
so anyway,
Where were
so,
you where were you that night is where we were
okay,
going.
back to that night. Now, here's how I ended up in there, right? Because, okay, I wasn't living there. That's actually a common misconception. Everybody tries to say I was living there. That actually isn't true. At the time, I was actually kind of floating around, because again, I hadn't gotten a new boat yet, but I'd stay at the shelter sometimes, and sometimes I'd hang out at a friend's house or whatever, and crash on the couch for the night or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I said, the money was pretty good, and look, I mean, with all the boats that had ended up in the street, I knew that there were going to be some cheap prices on boats coming up soon, right? So it was like that was kind of the plan, is to just rebuild. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, and yes, I mean Key West was a great place to live. At least as far as when I was on the water, because I actually did live on the water for a while, and when I was on the water, that was probably the freest I've ever been. I mean, Lord knows, I could literally sit there on the deck of my boat, and I could sit there buck naked with a joint in one hand and a beer in the other hand, and nobody cares. The fish don't care, you
Right.
know. So I
right.
mean, it's
And
just,
also about living on a boat, because I've lived on one for a very brief period of time, but also about living on a boat is that when the water gets rough, you need to like get off it for a bit, like get your land
well, I
legs back
mean,
up.
well, we're actually pretty good there because, okay, with us, I know Australia does have the Great Barrier, but I mean, we're on a coral reef, right? So we don't have waves, not for
Right,
the most part.
right,
So I mean, the water has to. I mean, again, it has to be a pretty big storm before we're getting in trouble. You know what I mean?
right.
And plus, there's a lot of coves for us to to moor off in. And actually, I had maybe I'll have to dig that picture out sometime. But I had a picture. I had pictures of my first boat there, but it was moored in the mangroves, right? And everybody cracked me up because, okay, you know it's in like a kind of a jungle that grows up out of the ocean, right? And everybody look at it was a 27-foot sailboat, right? And everybody's kind of like, they're sitting there, because the only people that would ever come by are like kayak tours and paddle boats, that kind of stuff. And like I
Yeah,
said, I'd be out there buck naked on the deck, and man, they'd come around the corner, man, doing their little kayak tour and be like, hey, how you doing? You need a beer? Oh yeah, you know, hope you enjoy the view. Welcome to Key West, right?
right.
So, it is what it is.
It is.
It's definitely not was it a kids community, if you want to put it that way.
Right.
But anyway, so again, so that I went from that lifestyle, right, where I was living that lifestyle, to now I'm like everybody else. I'm trying to rebuild. I'm working, and I'm hoping that I'm be able to get a cheap boat coming up, and that I can get back to the whole sailing the Caribbean idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in this time, actually Travis Johnson comes down with, like I said, this guy Matt. I want to say his name's Matthew Gideon, or something like that. I know Travis got busted with his medication, right? So we had his name because of that. But but he disappears somewhere along the lines, after the crime goes down. Night of crime. This is how I ended up there. And actually, oddly enough, and you want to talk about honesty? I was going there actually, man. Okay, because somebody asked me to get a bag of weed, and and Travis I knew had some because he had just got down there, and I was actually going to go see if Travis would sell me a bag of weed. So, that's why I was going there. So I end up going there and this is actually like a couple days before the crime, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And I go there, and when I get there, okay, my friend CJ Michelle, right, who lived in the building. Like I said, Rory Wilson and his girl lived downstairs. There was a guy named Dave. And that's oddly enough, we called him Detroit Dave. He was a white guy. And then you
Yeah.
had Rory Wilson that they called Detroit, and he was a black guy that lived downstairs. So we had two Detroits, black and a white one, right? And then there was also, let's see, there was a bunch of people who lived there. There's like Will and Crystal. There was I don't know. There was a bunch of people who were living there, staying there, right? And I mean,
Right.
it's not like Mansfield made it out to be. It's like, okay, he was trying to call it a flop house, all that other crap, right? And no, these people, most of them in there were paying rent. You know what I mean? Granted, it's an illegal apartment or whatever, but the bottom line is they're still paying rent to that landlord. And that's why I
Yeah.
kind of got offended, when he asked me that on the stand, and he was trying to, turn it into like just some like trap house or something, you know, because that's not what it was. That's a very, again, that's a perception that's been put out by the prosecution.
Right.
But anyway, so they're leaving, right? And there's cops there when I get there, and they're leaving because CJ had punched Dave in the face, and literally he was gushing blood out of his nose, and got a restraining order. He ended up getting a restraining order against CJ, right?
Yeah.
So CJ and Michelle had to leave, and they couldn't take everything with them, right?
Yeah.
Because they were going to go to a hotel, and they couldn't take all their furniture. They couldn't take, all their, pictures. They had pictures of their kids, all kinds of stuff, right?
Right.
So they couldn't take everything, right? So they asked me. I just happened to show up, right? Like I said, I'm trying to get a bag of weed, you know, and you know, as I'm coming in, you know, I see the cops there, and they're bringing CJ and Michelle out, right, escorting them out off the property. And, you know, and they asked, you know, they both come up to me and they're like, well, look, man, you know, we got to leave. And could you watch our place for us, watch our stuff for us, you know,
Yep.
until we can get back here and get it. Right. And I'm
Right.
like, well, you know, yeah, I mean, I got to go to work in a couple days, but, I mean, I can give you at least a few days, you know what I'm saying? And, so anyway, so I agreed to go ahead and do that. Right. And it's like I said, I was couch surfing anyway. And, you know, I was staying at shelter, that kind of stuff, you know, just trying to stockpile my money, you know?
Yep.
And so the thing is, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll watch it for you. And so that's how I end up staying in the building, right? As I end up doing it as a favor to them to watch their place. And so that's and you know, going wrong, I was probably there for like 2 or 3 days before this happened, right? So
Right.
so that's where I was the night of the crime. Okay, the night of the crime, like I said, you know, we've been partying all day. You know, I know Travis was there. Rory Wilson, I can't remember whether Rory was there or not in the morning. I know I was drinking Fireball with Travis though, right? Because you know I remember that part. You know, because you know we hang out on the back porch. And he had just at that point he had just got out of jail, right? Because okay, they did they did this thing where man, okay, they came in, the cops came in one day and they were coming in for a warrant for somebody else, right? And
Right.
Travis and Dave and a couple other people, and actually Rory Wilson was there, but didn't go to jail, if I remember correctly, right? But okay, they actually had weed on the table, and they were breaking it up to put it in the bowl, and you know the cops just came in and went up right upstairs. They didn't even knock, right? Because somebody left the door open. So they
Yep.
just came right upstairs, and then they got caught with their pants down. So Travis ends up going to jail, and he was probably in there for maybe a week, something like that. But in that time, his truck gets vandalized, gets robbed, you know, and what is it? You know, he comes back, and he's been robbed as far as his truck goes, right? I don't
Wait,
think he
whose
got
truck?
robbed for anything in the house,
Whose
huh?
truck are you talking about? Whose truck?
Talking about
Sorry.
Travis's, the one on the far, if you're looking at the screen, the one on the far right, right? So, the other white guy, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know, so,
There's some points I want to make about this other white guy too when we get there. But yeah, go on.
yep. Okay. So anyway, so he gets busted for weed. He goes ahead and, you know, he's got a misdemeanor, you know, and he goes to jail. Right. And he comes back about a week later and he's upset because yes, his truck got vandalized and he got robbed. I remember that part too. Like I said, I don't think he got robbed for anything in the house, or I shouldn't say the house, but in, you know, whatever, in the warehouse, right? He didn't get robbed for anything in there, but his truck did get broken into. So anyway, you know, so that's that part of it. That's what I know as far as that goes. But I remember the day of, we're sitting there and, you know, we're getting drunk, you know, pretty much. I mean, again, it's Key West, this is what we do. And, you know, smoking weed, you know, again, I don't think anybody had crack in the morning. I don't remember any breakfast crack for anybody, you know, but, you know, who knows, you know, like I said, there's a lot of people who live there. So you just never know. But here's the deal: I know I got a little bit too lit, right? And you know, it happens sometimes, whatever. I
Right.
gotten to a point where with my drinking, you know, though, where you know, as you get older, you realize you don't like throwing up. You know, it's really hard to pick up women, man, when you're slurring, and man, you know, and when you're stumbling all
Yeah.
over yourself. So
Right.
you know, I learned to control my drinking most of the time, right? But this particular day, no, I tied one on pretty early.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't have to work. So man, you know, it was my day off. So man, you know, I didn't really care. So anyway, somewhere along the line, I pass out. I don't remember when, you know, I just remember, you know, I remember waking up is what I remember. Right. And again, I'm still pretty lit when I woke up, but I'm out of cigarettes and that's just not acceptable. You know what I'm saying?
Especially
So,
after a couple of drinks. Yep. For
oh
sure.
no, I had more than a couple of drinks by that point, you know. But I mean, it's like okay, if it's enough to pass me out, you know, that's where I'm getting passed out. But I mean, I don't remember how much whiskey we drank because we would get okay. back in those days, I mean, we would get the 5 gallon boxes of Fireball. I mean, so, a
Yeah.
5 gallon box, man, you can get pretty drunk.
Wow.
So, it's like, okay, so, so I was pretty lit. And, so I go in this, CJ and Michelle's room and I, pass out. Right.
Right.
And somewhere along the lines, I wake up and like, it's like I told the cops, I'm like, Travis was there when I woke up. Right. So, I mean, it couldn't have been very long after the crime. You know what I mean? So, cause I've kind of put it together in my head as far as that went, right? It had to be after the crime. Right.
But there's also a bit of evidence about what times these things happen as well, which we'll get to in
Right.
a
No,
moment.
no, no. It does. I mean, look, I mean, that does come into play, and it actually comes into play with some of the things we're going to be talking about.
Right.
Um, so,
So
because man, you got to remember, I've had to think about this. I don't know, for years actually, trying to
as well,
remember everything that happened.
obviously.
Um,
So
but the thing is,
you
yeah, go
wake
ahead.
you wake up and Travis is there, but you don't know
Right.
that anything has gone down at this stage.
No, I have no idea that anything's gone down. Right. I mean, literally, I wake up. Like I said, I realize I'm out of cigarettes. Well, I can't be out of cigarettes, man. I got to get some cigarettes. And there's a Tom Thumb, like, that's one like a local convenience store, and it's
Right.
up on the corner. Right. So, I put on my clothes. Right. Literally, I just put on my shirt probably. Anyway, but I go ahead and I'm going to go down to Tom Thumb, and Travis says he's going to walk with me. Right. So I'm
Right.
like, all right, cool. Cause he was going to go get a 12 pack of beer or something, something like that. Right. Anyway,
Right.
but he walks with me over to Tom Thumb. Right. And when he does, we go over there and man, it's like I told the cops, I was like, man, when we got up to Tom Thumb, if you looked up, okay, Laurel Avenue, where the treehouse is and where this crime actually occurred is like only like maybe a half a block up from the Tom Thumb, because you got
Yep.
the fire station on the corner, you've got the Tom Thumb on the corner, but behind the fire station, that's where the treehouse is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
So
so you could
the
see the
thing,
cop lights up there, and there were a bunch of them, right?
ah,
So you could, so you could see something big happened up there, right?
so
And
that's how you know something big happened before you were with Travis.
right, exactly. That's how I know, man. I know it had to go. It had to be after the crime, right? Because okay, cops don't get there before the crime happens. So I mean, that's just it's simple logic. I couldn't tell you what time it was, right? But I
Right.
can tell you that the cops were already there, man. By the time I actually saw it.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so we go into the Tom Thumb. He gets his beer, I get my cigarettes, and then we go back to the warehouse, right? And when we get back to the warehouse, I remember Big Scott is actually sitting outside waiting for us. And I think some of y'all will remember that Travis testified that, he was him and Rory were the only ones with the keys to actually get into the warehouse, right?
Right.
That he had changed the locks on the doors because his truck got vandalized. He went ahead and changed the locks on the doors because he brought everything from his truck inside, right?
Right.
So anyway, so man, that's just that's
So
just what it was.
when the cops
Um,
were saying, when the cops were looking for this person, I remember them saying the truck that was all scratched up the side. That is that the truck that we're talking about?
that is actually the truck we're talking about. And
Right.
the thing is look, there's a there.
We'll come to
You
that.
talk about
We'll come
shitty
to that.
You should talk about shitty investigative skills. I mean, okay, there are cops that knew, right? And you got to remember, man, they knew right off the rip because Paula told them when she came out. She tells them that it's a big black guy named Detroit, right? That's what she
Right.
tells them.
I'm
That's
going
what
to
she
play
knows
that.
about it.
I'm going to play that
Huh?
bit next. I'm going to play
Yep.
that part of the footage for the audience to watch.
Yeah, actually, this would be probably a good time to do that, actually, because man, to let them actually see what happened. You know what I mean?
Cool. Now, when we do this, I want you to let me know. Whoops, I've got to find where I put it now. Whoops. Let me know when you want to pause and say something during this footage. So I only grabbed the first 20 minutes because that's the bit that counts, where she basically says who it was that she saw. She describes him. She
Well, not even just him. You got to remember the very first man name that comes out of her mouth is Anathea did this. Anathea set this up. right?
Right.
She's literally screaming Anathea's name, right? And then Rory Wilson, she says, because she doesn't know his name's Rory Wilson. She knows his name is, she knows him as Troy, right? It's by his nickname. But she definitely knows who her attacker is. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So we'll play through it. Just for the
Yep.
audience benefit, I have obscured identities in this footage. This is 20 minutes of a 2-hour body cam footage. There's a lot of graphic, really like hardcore graphic stuff. I will put the link for this video in the description when we're done. But I just want you to know that this is very graphic, and so I have obscured a lot of that ultra graphic details to save the witnesses and victims from any backlash that they might get. It is on YouTube though, so I can put the link in the description when we're done. So we'll just play through it, and I just want you to yell out when you want me to pause to add context to anything that you would like.
Yeah, there'll probably be a couple spots in here just so that, again, you'll know who the characters are, who, what roles, which people are meant to actually pay attention to here. There are, things in here to pay attention to. Like the first guy you got your box on over here. He actually came out of the crime scene. That's Todd. That's Todd, right?
That is. I did ask you if that was Todd, because later on he's wearing a white skivvy, and so it was difficult to.
Right, exactly. And this goes back to remember I was telling you about the threesome that was foursome that was going on down in the trailer, at the time of the crime. Yeah, well, that's where he came. That's where he came from. That's why he's after us. So. It is what it is.
Have a listen and tell me when to pause.
Yep, no problem.
Hey, what happened? Tell me what happened.
I don't know. I'm downstairs watching TV.
1118, I have men on standby when you're able to advise.
I hear a scuffle.
Okay.
A scream.
Okay.
The homeowner who was sitting there with us says, I'm going to check that out.
Okay.
When he gets up there, I hear another scream.
Okay.
I take off up there.
Okay.
To the top of the stairs. Dude is on him.
Who is on him? Nobody you know.
Skeleton mask.
Wait, is it black, white, tall, skinny?
Yeah.
Tell me what.
No, I can't because it's one. I saw the white guy take his mask off and ran that way.
So there's two people.
Two people. Black guy. So then I go back in there.
And a white guy.
The other guy's still fucking in there.
What car?
I didn't see any car, buddy. I was assholes and elbows.
So far negative on a car.
So just to point that out, a black guy and a white guy is all they are talking about so far, right?
Well, and also keep in mind skull masks, right? And he did not see a car, right? As far as from this point.
Skull masks come into play with that picture we just showed of you before, so we'll go through that in a minute.
Yep.
Possible suspects, white male, black male, both wearing masks with skeletons on them. I'm gonna follow the RP over to the house where there's possible victims.
I hear the homeowner.
Where's
second cry for help.
Where are their victims?
We just got another call.
On the wooden observation deck. See to the right there.
Meet me over there.
Spaced out.
Copy. At Roll Meds, it's gonna be Laurel Avenue. It's gonna be the Treehouse. They'll see I'll throw my lights on my car.
Now, if you want to pause for just a second, notice she called it the Treehouse.
I did, and I also noticed as soon as she walks in there, she knows the person. So
exactly, because this is actually it's a well-known trap house. As far as Stock Island goes, Stock Island's not very big. It also happens to be where the golf course and the jail are. But I mean that's so the cops know this place. They also know the people that live there. They know that again, they know about the place. So. And you'll see that more when Paula comes out. You'll see more of that.
The stating friend lives in the Treehouse. Being told to call and suspect that. So landline 2022.
1202 to 1121. Respond to cross. Cross US 1. 1125, respond to US 1 and 430.
it's good good to note here that this is a female officer, and she's arrived at the scene on her own. She doesn't have she doesn't have a partner. She's just all by herself.
No, and there's something that comes in about that later on. We'll talk about that later on. But okay, this is Jenna Mueller for all you guys who watched the trial. She was actually I want to say she was the first person to testify. I want to say that.
Yeah.
But she did testify on the first day. So this is actually the first person who makes it to the treehouse that night.
So far, I got no vehicle, but I got people screaming for help. Stand by. Paula, I'm coming.
So straight up, she yells out, "Paula, I'm coming." So she knows who it is upstairs.
Right, she knows exactly who it is.
I got a male victim face down and unresponsive. I got a female victim bleeding from the neck, screaming at the top of the treehouse. Paula, come here. Come here.
It hurts!
Paula, do you know who did this?
Yeah, it was a black guy.
Well, do you know his name?
He goes by the name of Detroit. It hurts a lot.
So the first thing she says is it was a black guy named Detroit.
Well, and we're getting some good questions here, and here's the answer for you. Okay, Todd was at the treehouse, right? He actually ran across the street and flagged down a woman named Gabriella Torelli, who was in a truck. Actually, when you see when Todd is talking to the cops, you can see the white truck over there, and that's Gabriella Torelli and her boyfriend, right? They're witnesses in the case too. She's actually the one who calls 911 and gets the cops there, right? So Todd ran across the street and got somebody to call the cops. That's why they're there in the first place.
So
But this is
before I hit play, the first person you see is Todd, and he says we heard screams from downstairs, and we went to run upstairs and got bowled over by two guys. That's
now as far as the misconduct, here's the thing with that. Just remember, man, Todd O'Quinn says 100% sure it wasn't me, right? So this is a guy, man, he's the one who runs over. Now there's also something else that will come up with Gabriella Torelli, because Gabby saw some things that never come up in trial, right? And actually the cops never actually even bothered to investigate. So we'll talk about that later.
He came over and he stole my purse.
Okay, sit down, Paula. Sit down. Come here.
Wait, let me get my phone.
Sit down.
I got people coming. I think they help me.
Sit down. Sit down.
Patrol 1, 24.
Paula, hold this on it, okay? I'm gonna go see about the guy downstairs. Hold that on it. Hold it. Hold it. 11:18. I got a black male supposedly by the name of Detroit. The female's holding pressure on her neck. I'm checking on the male now. Sir. Male, possibly 6'5". Sir. Sir. You hear me? No, I need you to show those guys where to come. The rescue's here.
So good to note at this stage, she hasn't called for any backup. She's there on her own. She hasn't checked inside the treehouse to see if it's still there.
And that's the thing. She has no idea whether there's still people there or not, right? Just to let you guys know that, right? And the thing is and she tries to roll over Matt. Matt is laying face down on the plywood there, and so I mean it's a pretty horrific scene, because again Paula's holding her neck. She had her neck, she literally got her throat slit, and she had been badly beaten, and and Matt's laying there dead at the bottom of the stairs.
Right, and she doesn't. I actually counted. It was at least 40 minutes into the scene before she actually asks for backup. So just note that, because I didn't record the bit where she does
Right,
actually ask.
and so she has no backup. The place hasn't been cleared at all, right? She just goes in there because, I mean, again, she knows Paul is screaming, and then, man,
Yep.
there's a guy who's laying on the, she doesn't know whether or not he's dead yet, but she
Yeah.
tried to roll him over, but she's actually, I mean, she's a fairly large woman as far as, I mean, she's
solid.
muscular or whatever, but I mean, but this is a big dude we're talking about. I mean, he's almost as big as Rory Wilson, maybe the same size. I don't know, something like that, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, Matt wasn't small, so anyway, that's kind of where we're at here. It's she's just assessing the situation.
Sir, you hear me? Copy that. I got mail so far, not breathing, no pulse. Paul, they're coming. They're coming, Paul. Just keep pressure on it.
Paul, to no K9, QSP, you've been advised.
So that's ambulance being directed to, emergency services being directed to where these guys are with the torches in the background.
And on a personal note, here, you can hear Paula screaming. You can hear that she's in pain. You can hear that, man. Yes, I mean, you can hear what's going on here, right? And there's been these people out there that they talk about her like somehow she deserved this because of the way she was living, right? And no, she didn't deserve this at all. I mean, this is not something where you can be like, oh, well, she's living that life, and that's just what you get, that kind of crap. Well, then, come take a look at this and tell me that, man, that's the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Because no, she did not deserve this. I'm saying nobody deserves this, and it's like, okay, so, cause I mean, I'm, when I hear, I'm listening to it now, and it's like, I became good friends with Paul later. Right. And, to hear her like this, and man, look, I definitely have let's say a deep dislike for Rory Wilson, but at the same time, it's like, the idea, because I mean, look, anybody who's seen Paula, she weighs about 90 pounds, soaking wet, I mean, so she's not a very big woman. And yeah, I mean, what they did to her, it was horrible, I mean, it's just absolutely horrible. And, I really, even the prosecutors, what they tried to say about her, that somehow she deserved this, and it's like, no, that's not how it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just, man, hearing that, it's like.
So he's looking around.
No pulse. Paul, they're coming. They're coming, Paul. Just keep pressure on it.
Paul, to no K9, QSP, you've been advised.
Can't get him to roll over. This little big guy.
Now pause it for just a second. Okay, you can see the cop lights right there, right? But you see how the CVS is right behind the treehouse?
Is that
right? See CVS those lights up there? That's the CVS, right? So you got to remember there's cameras on there, right? That's the thing, right? So there's cameras that are actually supposed to be there, right? And have a great bird's eye view of the treehouse, right? So just keep that in mind.
Just about here is where Todd pulls her up, and then she comes over here to the treehouse. Like, he didn't even tell her where. It's just
there's actually like a little hill right there that goes up to the CVS. He ran up the hill, up into the parking lot, and got somebody
into that area there or something, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. I'm just telling you to keep that in mind, because when we're talking about cameras later, and what video footage we have and what video footage we don't, you know, again, just remember that that building is right there and there's a drive-through there. You know, so they have cameras there.
So those are the ambulance lights there, right?
Yep. Well, no, the white lights are the building. You know, but there is an ambulance coming. There's, you know, there'll be an ambulance coming, right? You know, those are cop lights down there.
Right there. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. Yeah, the white lights that are above it. That's the CVS.
Paula, they're coming. They're coming, Paula. Just keep pressure on it.
Paula, no K9, QSP, been advised.
Guys, I got one male here, not responsive, not breathing. One upstairs, stabbed in the neck. One right here, non-responsive, not breathing, stabbed. I can't flip him over, start CPR. One upstairs, bleeding from the neck from a stab wound.
Okay, hey, hey!
I can't flip him over. Not breathing.
You got a pulse? Let's do this, guys. Listen up. Where's the wound at? You see the wound?
It's in his back, and there's one right here.
Okay.
She's upstairs.
Alright, I'm gonna go check on the other.
Still further 2027.
Up here. Paula.
Close off the monitors. Lucas,
Paula, you gotta give me something. Who did this?
Guy, his name, he goes by Detroit.
Detroit. Where does he live?
He's a friend of fucking April.
Okay.
It's April.
look at me.
Okay.
So
Pause it for a sec. Yep.
Yeah.
April. Okay. April is actually, her real name is Anethea Clay. So there's two Aprils in this story. You have April, who is Rory Wilson's girlfriend. You also have April Anethea Clay. Now you notice that Paula is saying that April did this. April is the one, you know, April is the one who did this to me, right? But she's also saying that it was Rory Wilson was the one who attacked her. Well, actually not Rory Wilson, but AKA Detroit. Detroit's the one who attacked her.
Yeah. I'm glad you cleared up the April thing, because when I said earlier the 9-month pregnant lady, that's Rory's girlfriend April, but this one that she's talking about is Anethea.
Right, that's Anethea Clay, and she's a very, very important part of the whole thing, right? So it's like, you know, that one, you know, it's good not to get it confused, you know, because I mean, you will have April, you know, Rory Wilson's girlfriend, 9-month pregnant girlfriend. But you know, she's talking about Anethea Clay, somebody who actually lived there, you know.
Right. We'll get to her in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to her, man. I mean, she becomes a big piece of this, and a big piece of the mission.
Can you walk? If you can walk, I need you to walk. Keep pressure on your neck. Do you understand?
It's Paula, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paula, I need you to get up and walk.
I've had a lot of lung problems, so.
That's fine. They're gonna get worse if you don't walk with me.
We're here to help you.
Don't worry about this. This is not a concern for you right now.
I'll bring your phone. I'll bring your phone, okay?
No, let her keep pressure on. I need a blood pressure. I need her name.
What's his real name?
I don't know what his name is.
Let's go. Double time.
I'm talking. I can't talk about it at the same time.
Stand up.
I'm gonna leave you with here.
Okay. You might have to help me up. Can I let come with you? Can you help me? Can you help me?
Come on.
He stole my purse.
Okay.
Yes.
You want me to go down there with them?
Watch your head.
Come on.
If we can.
So she gets very worried about her purse here, but she said.
Well, you got to remember, she's also worried because, I mean, they were partying upstairs. You know, everybody's worried about that part, and we'll get to that. We'll get to who was there and who actually split, who actually stayed. You know, what happens with everybody, because there was actually a lot of people there that night. You know, so and we'll get into that. You know, who was actually there and what they were doing.
I like a blood pressure on
Hey, Universal Caution.
Yeah.
His name is Detroit. He lives somewhere on Front Street. He's some kind of fisherman.
Okay.
He's a big guy. He's really big. He has some kind of mask on.
Okay.
He's wearing black. black boots like that kind of.
Was anyone else with him?
Let me see your wounds.
Yeah, some guy.
Yeah, we need to see the wounds. That's who you can. All right.
And I think my vegan.
It's clotting. That's good.
Okay.
Stand there and walk it. I need you to come
1118, black male, street name Detroit. He lives on Front Street somewhere. She says he's a fisherman. And there was another male with him.
Come on. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I need you to follow me.
Paula, I'm right here, okay?
The second suspect is also a black male.
Blaylock, where's
Hey, is the second suspect, is he a black male too?
I think so. Roger would know better because he's the one that broke the knife to Roger's throat.
It's unknown. One person said he is possibly white. One said he's possibly black.
So they've got two assailants that she's pointed out now, one white and one black, both wearing masks. And they've mentioned a second suspect called Roger.
Now Roger is not a suspect. Roger is actually, Roger Roget actually testified at trial, but he was actually partying with Paula. And you got to understand, okay, the Treehouse, when we talk about the Treehouse, right? Okay, the Treehouse, it's basically like a patio, and then it's built up where there's another second floor patio, and then there's a third floor patio, and the third floor is where Paula was staying, right? She was staying on this patio on one of these decks, and that's why they had to go up the stairs for that, right? But the thing is okay, and you know, I'm sure some of you have seen pictures of it, maybe you haven't, but I mean, she had tarps put up, and you know, to keep the rain off of her, and she had a little bed set up there, and you know, she had like a, you know, just a little, I don't know, a little place up there, you know what I mean? But the thing is but you got to understand, it is 3 stories. This thing is 3 stories high, right? So, you know, it is upstairs, and you know, but that's where she got robbed.
Yeah,
is upstairs.
Yeah,
right. So that, you know, again, they had to come downstairs, and they found Matt on the 2nd floor. So, you know, he's actually on the wood part of, you know, at the bottom of the stairs on the 2nd floor. They find him face down.
Like crew were
assault.
actually underneath all of that on the 1st floor when they heard it all going down. Correct.
Well, and okay, and you'll find out later, Todd, when he came running out of the Treehouse, right, when he comes running out of it to go across the street and call 911. Okay, now again, we know it was Travis, right? And actually, so did the prosecution. We'll get into that later too. But here's the point: is the second assailant, let's just say, you know, keep it for suspense sake, the guy who is not Detroit, right? Detroit was, you know, again, you know, big black male, and actually she knew who it was because, and again, you know, when you go to Rory Wilson, he's got a very distinct voice, right? It's very deep. I don't know if you've ever heard like a Barry White kind of tone, you know, where it's a very deep voice. And yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it was funny because, okay, one of the reasons I realized that Paula, even though they had masks on, right? Because she told me it was Rory when I run into her later, right? Before I get arrested. And the thing is, it's she told me that that's who it was, right? And I was like, and again, I'm kind of questioning it. I was like, you know, I don't know, I don't know shit, right? But I'm sitting there and I'm just like, okay, and I'm listening to her because, I mean, look, again, she's got this big bandage on her neck from what happened and all this other stuff. That's later though. Point is, but Rory Wilson was fairly easy to identify, right? Because even though she couldn't see him, and here's one for you guys. If you're going to go commit a robbery and you show up at the place, man, during the day, you actually go there earlier in the day, don't wear the same clothes when you go to commit the robbery. That kind of lets people know who you are too. Right. So, because, man, he didn't even bother to change his clothes, contrary to what Travis says. Right. But no, he actually was wearing, one of the things Paula recognized is he was wearing the same damn clothes he had worn earlier that day when he showed up. So anyway, so the point is she knew who her assailant was. So she knew. I
also heard other stories along the way listening to all of this that Rory had been there like the week before. So everyone kind of knew his voice. He'd been harassing people there.
Well, and actually it wasn't necessarily harassing people there. That's where Anathea comes in. Because, okay, Anathea was a prostitute, right? And, you know, she did live at the Treehouse, but she had just gotten evicted, right? I mean, Matt had just evicted her. And the reason she got evicted is because Paula and Todd, had went and demanded from Matt that she be evicted, right? Because Paula and Anthea
when you
couldn't stand
say
each
she
other.
just got evicted, was it like that day or that week? Like what period?
Literally like within a couple days,
Right.
something like that. It was like a couple days. That I think it was like 2 days. If I want to be, I'm trying to remember the paperwork, and I think it was like 2 days that she had been, evicted from the place. But it does come into play. I mean, all this stuff comes into play, right? And because this is something that didn't come out at trial, and this is something that becomes a very, very big part of the misconduct here. Right. And the things that go wrong with this investigation, because, Anthea is she, by all counts, everybody says she set up the crime.
Yeah.
She actually is the one that solicited Rory Wilson. Right. And, again, and possibly even Travis. I mean, that's a big question mark we still have. But here's the point is, she spent, prior to this happening, it wasn't the week before, but it was like the week prior to that, something like that. But she, Rory Wilson disappeared for, I don't know, like a couple weeks. Like it was more like a couple weeks. And, come to find out that he had been at the Treehouse, staying at the Treehouse for those, those weeks, smoking crack and sleeping with Anthea. Right. So, he had a 9-month pregnant girlfriend back in his apartment, wondering where he was. And, and sadly enough, she actually called me looking for him. And, I told her, call the hospitals and all this. And, even though I didn't like her, it didn't make no difference. It's like, okay, look, she's looking for her old man, whatever. But the point is he just up and disappeared. Right. Now, when he got back, what he ran me was that he had gone up to Miami to see his baby's mom up in Miami. Right. But no, it turns out the truth is he was actually at the Treehouse, and he was engaging in crack and hookers, not even, a specific hooker, which would be Anthea.
Okay,
so
that's
where
that's a good background. So, to those asking, the Treehouse is like a trap house. It has no power and water. And then what was the other?
No, there's a trailer down at the bottom, right? And again, you want to talk about, you actually have to pay rent for that, by the way, if you're going to live on one of the flats in that Treehouse. I think because I did talk about this at trial, but the one time I met Matt, I only met Matt once, and it was when I first got back to Key West, right? I had just gotten back, and I was looking for a place to stay, right? And so I saw an ad in the paper, and it was like, I think they wanted like $350. He wanted like $350 to live on one of those flats, right? So and look, I didn't know what it looked like or anything like that. But for $350, I mean, in Key West, where everything, you get a closet for $1,000. I was like, yeah, all right, I'll go check it out, right? So I go down there and check it out, and this is when I meet Matt, and he shows me around the property, and he shows me, you're going to get a porch, man, for $350. You can live on, one of my porches, basically. But and then there was one trailer there that I never went in, but that's where Matt lived, right? And that's where everybody was when this happened, right? You had Belinda Corrales was down there. You had Roosevelt Washington down there. You had Todd O'Quinn down there, and you had Matt down there. They were all in his trailer. And again, the whole thing is again, Belinda Corrales was a prostitute, and they were engaging in sex and smoking crack. But then, behind that trailer, right, there was another trailer, right? There was another trailer.
We'll get to see
What's
that
up?
next, because she goes into.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But I mean, but just again, there's 2 trailers there, right? One of them, and this is when I'm looking at it to rent it, right? Possible rental. But that's where the makeshift shower was. He had like those, I don't know, the camping showers. He had one of those rigged up there. And then in the second trailer, the whole roof was caved in, but there was like a toilet right in the center of the trailer. And so that would have been the toilet and the shower that you used. So this is what we're talking about as far as the living there. Needless to say, I passed on paying $350 a month to live there. you know, so it's like, okay,
Right.
you know, but I mean, but Matt seemed like a nice guy. And from everything I've heard, man, you know, he'd been down in Key West for a long time, used to be one of the Sunset performers,
Yeah.
all that. You know, he was known for juggling and riding a unicycle. You know, that's what he would do, you know, for his performance down at the Sunset Pier.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, everybody seemed to like him.
Can look
you know,
at the
so.
Treehouse in the daylight at some point. So just hang about.
Yeah, oh yeah, you'll definitely see that in some of the other videos. So yeah.
Copy, 1202 Charlie 3 is en route.
I got a pulse on this. Let's go.
The guy was here earlier, and I told him.
Okay. So you've seen him here before?
Yeah, I told him to get out of here. He's a friend of April's, and it's the police.
Okay. Watch yourself.
Take your time. Take your time.
Be careful.
More about him.
Okay.
470 advices on.
Why did he do this?
I don't know. I guess he money. I don't know. He stole my money. That's what he was looking for with my car.
He just came up here to rob you?
He came flying at the door.
Let's go. Let's go
Like,
downstairs.
I was sitting on the bed. Like right on top of me.
Okay.
With the knife.
Keep going.
And he just saying, "Bitch, give it to me. I'm gonna cut your throat. I'm gonna cut your throat."
Okay.
470, do you need me to notify 475?
What did he take from you?
He stole my purse.
Okay. What does your purse look like?
It's a little pink.
Thank you, sir. 2030.
Oh my God! It's got my ID in it. And I got
Okay, Paula, we'll get it. We'll get it. We'll get it. We'll get it. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay, just to interrupt there, she clearly says that he was trying to rob her. How much money did you have in your pocket that night, Ty? Yeah.
Oh, me? I don't know. I mean, like I probably had I don't know, at least a few $100s. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I had some because I also had a bank account. I was like, like I'm a, like I may have been, man, kind of, surfing couches, but man, I mean, I still had my bank card. So I had I had money in my bank and I had money in my pocket at the time. I mean, that's why, that's why Mansfield kind of fast, kind of skipped over that, man, real quick, man, when I was up on the stand. He didn't want to hear about how I had money in my pocket.
I just wanted to point that out, that this was a robbery, a small time robbery, because she would have had little in her purse.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the thing is okay. And the thing is okay. Here's the deal with that too, is like, I mean, look, if I had wanted to buy drugs, I mean, I could have just went and bought drugs, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you can't really use a negative defense. That's what that's called. You can't say, well, I wouldn't have done it because, I had no reason to, because, man, why would I do that? I have money in my pocket, right? You can't really do that because, man, people do all kinds of crazy shit for crazy reasons.
I want you to know that you're allowed to do whatever the hell you want, because this is a YouTube channel and not the trial, but just so you know.
No, and that's why, that's why I'm telling it to you just like it is. It's like, I mean, that's, look, I kind of, like I said, I gave a lot less details on the stand because, it's like, okay, it's like, they don't want to they really don't want to hear that. I mean, matter of fact, when I did say I had money in my pocket, man, Mansfield shut me up real quick, so it's like, okay, it's like, just, they didn't want to hear that part of the story. I'm sure that, there's lots of parts of the story they didn't want to hear.
Though, for the audience, is that you had more money in your pocket than she had in her purse. That was the only point I wanted to make.
Well, actually, that's not true either. Here's a part that, man, again, is not true, right? And I know this just because, I know because, man, I talked to Paula. I know because I actually talked to, the person whose money it was. But the thing is, man, so I've come across, man, different information than what they put forward. And man, that actually, look, there's a lot of information they put forward that wasn't true. Right. And one of it was the amount, right? Paula didn't get robbed for $250. That's not what happened. What she told me is she got robbed for about $1,000 and a cookie of crack. That's what she told me.
It all makes sense now.
And then, what's funny? Here's the funny thing is I had to ask her what a cookie of crack was, right? Because I didn't know, right? I don't know what a cookie of crack is. And I asked her what it was. And she was like, well, basically, when they cook the crack, it's like, man, on a cookie pan, right? So, man, whatever a cookie pan's worth is. And I'm like, well, Paula, man, I go to Paula, I'm like, Well, you realize, man, cookie sheets come in different sizes, right? You know, so it's like, I mean, look, whenever I've ever dealt with any kind of drugs or anything like that, or even liquor, usually you got kind of specific weights, right? A fifth of liquor is 750 milliliters, right? I mean, if you're going to buy some weed, you buy it in an eighth or a quarter, whatever. So, it's like, but apparently crack doesn't go like that.
On the
I don't
streets,
know.
what's a cookie worth?
To be honest, I don't really know the value of a cookie of crack. I don't. I mean, look, I just know that that's what got robbed, and that was confirmed for me. That actually was confirmed for me when I was in jail. And this comes up later as far as who gets arrested, man, for other things later. But I actually meet the guy. I meet the guy whose money it was. Because again, Paula was, I mean, everybody knows Paula was selling drugs that night. That was part of the case. But the thing is the person whose money it was, he actually ran into me in jail and he pulled me into a cell and he's like, I know you didn't do it. Right. And he's like, and the reason I know you didn't do it, because if you did it, we wouldn't be talking right now. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, and then he told me the same thing. He said it was $1,000 in a cookie crack. So, I mean, while that never got reported to the, look, I wasn't about to go to the prosecution, man, correct them, but man, it's like, but that is, man, what I got told.
And the cops never get these things right anyway. They tell you that, it was street value X, Y, Z. They're always like over exaggerating.
Well, and you know what's funny? Phelps later on, she actually says it's $1,000, which, man, again, makes you question, how did she know? You know what I'm saying? How did she actually get the number right? So that comes later, but the bottom line is, man, because that made us think about it, because, okay, we knew what it was, right? The prosecution doesn't know what it is. So how does Phelps know what it is?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that becomes another weird question we ponder later, But here's the thing is, yes, man, I mean, that's about approximately what got robbed. There is a $100 bill that's found on the street, when they're doing their search here. I don't know how much other crap, but whatever.
That's actually very interesting, because it brings up a whole other aspect of this case, doesn't it? Right.
Right. Yeah, no, there's a lot of aspects of this case. And actually, funny thing is I know that video is like 2 hours long, but you catch a lot of shit in that video. There's a lot of stuff that's done wrong right off the rip, like Anna.
We're just going to do, we're just doing the first 20 minutes just so that people.
No, I know. I'm just letting the viewers know that if they want to watch that, there is a lot of stuff to catch in there. When you're digging in this thing and you want to find out what actually happened.
They run into a lot of people at night and ask a lot of questions. And
oh yeah, and I mean, like, again, okay, you talk about simple stuff. They don't even bother to tape off the street until later, right? They have pedestrians walking up and walking away with evidence, stuff like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're gonna get it.
I think his friend's
anyway.
Okay, so you got a pink purse, and what color is the backpack?
It's a little teeny purse, lady.
Okay.
It's got little witches and Halloween things.
Here, hold that.
And he kept saying, give me a purse, and I kept saying, Roger, do something.
Oh, watch your side. Let these medics got to go through to work on your friend, okay?
I kept telling him that we needed a door, and he wouldn't put a door up there. He wouldn't put up a fucking door. And this guy just came up and, he kept punching me in the face, because I didn't want to give him my purse.
Okay, and then what happened with your friend? What's your friend's name?
The one that was Roger, was somewhere. I don't know where he went.
The guy with the gray hair.
Yeah, Roger. Where is he? Is he okay?
He's okay. He's gonna be treated right now. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting you to this truck.
He hurt my hand.
Okay.
He punched me a few times.
Okay.
I don't want to go to the hospital.
You're gonna have to go.
What?
You have a huge gash in your neck, Paula.
Do what?
You have to go. Okay. These people, we're all here to help you.
I want a cigarette.
Sit right here.
Tough little woman, huh?
I don't know if I can. Can I sit on the chair?
Lean against it, okay? You lean against it? Do you want to hold your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then they took it off and
Where did you seen these guys before?
The one guy.
Okay.
He had a mask on, but I could tell it was him.
Okay.
He was here tonight.
Okay, and his name's Detroit.
This is his nickname.
Okay, do you know his real name?
There's people in the front house.
And they know him?
They would know him, yeah.
Okay, do you know where he lives?
No worries,
Somewhere on
Gingy.
Front Street.
Look, I've
So I
watched
know.
this tape, I don't know how many times.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was just saying, no worries to Gingy, because she's thanking me for being here and, being able to give like kind of a firsthand experience with some of this stuff. I mean, granted, again, I wasn't there, that night at all, but man, but I wasn't there to see any of this either, right? It's just that I've watched all these tapes, I don't know how many times, right? And I do know the people, I do know the area, all that other stuff. So, it's like, yeah, that's why, look, when it came down to all this, I had 7 years of studying all this crap, right? I can probably tell you what happens in any tape that we have. Like I said, there's like 2,800 hours worth of video, and I've watched it all many times. And yes, I pay attention to everything that goes on, because again, my life was on the line. So it's like, yes, I paid attention to every little detail they're doing, and watched all these tapes over and over again. And yes, this particular one, yeah, it breaks my heart. Like I told you, Paula and I become very good friends later. And to hear what that, okay, again, I should say animals, but man, to think of Rory Wilson, like I told you, he's about 6'1", 6'2", and 280 pounds. And he's beating on this woman, and he's slashing her throat. And the reason her hand hurts, she doesn't know this yet, but the reason her hand hurts is because she grabbed the blade of the knife, and that may have saved her life. I don't know. I do know that the slash that's on her throat when Muller's telling her she has to go to the hospital because you got this big gash on your throat. Well, literally, it's about a quarter inch from her carotid. Like, literally, if he had cut her about a quarter inch more, she would have been dead. So she's a tough little woman. It's like, and you can hear her. She's pissed more than anything else. It's like, she's not even really feeling the injuries yet. She's just mad. But at the same time, it's like, this is one of the harder tapes for me to watch. Just because. It's a friend of mine now, and she did pass, she actually did pass away not long after the trial.
Oh, no.
So it's kind of sad, and it's like,
I'm sorry to hear that.
and it's okay. It's it wasn't okay at the time. When I went to trial, it was the first time I'd seen Paula since we'll talk about the whole McDonald's thing later, but I saw her a few days. Okay, I saw her a few days. I saw her on the 22nd when I got arrested, right? Just before I got arrested. And this is the 17th. So, I saw her on the 22nd, and I didn't see her again until I went to trial.
I'm sorry.
So
sorry to hear she passed away.
Interesting. Well, and just to be clear though, at this point in time, I didn't really know Paula. I knew her from around, Stock Island's very small, right? So, I knew who she was, I knew what, I kind of knew what her gig was, kind of knew what she did, and I, again, but again, it's none of my business. It's like, again, I have a very live and let live attitude, just like most people down there. It's like, look, as long as you're not, here's the kicker with that though. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't care what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? That's none of my business. But once you get into stuff like this, then it's a whole different story, and no, that's not acceptable. You know what I mean? So it's like, but the part that bugs me is I know what Rory Wilson looks like. I know how big he is. And man, I know how small Paul is. And just, I don't know how many times, man, I thought about what he actually did. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It bothered me a lot. And don't get me wrong. Yeah, there were many times I wish they would have just put me in a room alone with Rory Wilson for a second. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the man. Let's just put it that way.
Any Indigenous people watching, if you're of an Indigenous background, there may be deceased people in these footages that we're going to show, just so you know that. I wasn't aware of that until just now, so I apologize in advance. So I think that's an indigenous sort of thing that not many Americans might be aware of, but we do warn people because they have a specific culture regarding the deceased. So I apologize in advance if we have any indigenous folk watching this.
He lives at in the trailers there, in Rory.
No, somewhere. Oh, some warehouse on Front Street.
A warehouse on Front Street.
Yeah, by the church.
Yeah, it's okay. Real quick, don't move your neck, okay? Come over here, me.
Hold on.
Call it. Take that off, okay?
He lives
Let him see it.
by the hogfish.
Okay, by the shrimp boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ma'am, look at me. I just gotta check out what's going on here.
There was a lot of blood. They said it was clotting. Do I really got to go to the hospital?
It's clotting. You do have to go to the hospital. You do need stitches, okay?
It's clotting, so you're good. See any major bleeding? What do you feel?
My hand hurts a lot, and he punched me 3 times in the fucking head.
Where did it?
I don't know. I can't tell.
Did you grab the knife? Right here.
Yeah, I tried to. Yeah, after when it was up against my throat.
I'm getting more now. He looks like he lives near the warehouse at Bama Seafood, right next to Hogfish, the shrimp boat, Bama Seafood dock. It's gonna be some guy by the name of Detroit. I'm trying to get a real name.
What is that? Is that okay? Is that all right? It hurt my head. It hurt my head.
We're working on him. I need you to stay here. You keep an eye. I gotta give him a update.
Can I please sit in the chair? Because I really feel like I'm going to pass out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to sit. I'm not going to die, right? I'm not losing that much blood.
No, you're not. Go ahead and take a seat for me, okay?
Sit down. There you go.
They got the code?
Hey, yes, I got one here, one's in there.
Where's she stabbed?
She's stabbed in the neck. It's clotting. She's not in bad shape.
No, he's not gonna fly. She might.
He's not gonna fly?
This guy's dead, ain't he?
It was on her fault, but not breathing.
Yeah, he's probably not.
I couldn't even flip him over to do CPR. Yeah, and she's gonna need to go.
Yelling for somebody who's going to help me.
Who's on the phone?
I'm calling my friend.
Okay. Is it someone that would know this guy's real name?
No.
Who would know his real name?
No, I don't. No,
Who would know it?
For a second?
Huh?
Let me see. Looks more like.
Hey, who are you? Who are you?
My friend Cosmo. Cosmo?
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend. Look what they did to me.
Cosmo, I gotta pat you down. You have any weapons?
No.
I called him.
Of course not.
I called him.
Hey, I don't know you, man. Cosmo, do you know this guy named Detroit?
No, I know April though.
Yeah, one of her fucking.
Don't look for it.
And she's been causing me all kinds. She's been causing me all kinds of hell.
Do I know him?
No, he's on Front Street, but he was in some kind of bar tonight. Matt got hurt really bad. Roger got hurt.
What just happened?
Right upstairs. You remember I keep telling Matt I need his door. He came up and stole the purse.
Tack 5. Tack 4. Patrol 1. Patrol 3. Tack 4. Patrol 1.
Hey man, what's your name? Okay, I know.
I'm the same when you were.
I know. I appreciate it. Can you do me a favor? Get that.
Copy correction on all channels. Tack 4, all District 1 units go to Tack 4, reference Knock Island call. Tack 4.
Do you have any ID on you, please? Thank you. You live here?
No.
Okay.
I was just here with.
You were just here with friends?
Yep.
Do you know this? Do you know the suspect? Some guy named Detroit.
Tack 4.
Really?
1118.
Yes, I
Tack
do.
4.
He was here the other night.
Do you know his real name?
So this is Todd now with his skivvy on. This is the one who first approached at the beginning, right?
Right. He actually put a shirt on. You know, he's got a shirt on now at this point. You know, it's like I said, it's hard to watch, but there was one funny part, and you know, where I kind of smiled a little bit when she was like, She's like, I'm not hurt that bad. It's like, Paula, you got, it's like, anyway, it's just like, she's like, I'm not hurt that bad. She just wants them to leave, she wants a cigarette is what she wants. But the thing is, but she also doesn't realize how bad she's hurt, I mean, obviously, she knows she was beat up, but,
she's still got
she
the
doesn't. Yeah, she just doesn't know at this
coursing
point.
through her body. The adrenaline sort of prevents you from all the pain.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, she has to, and I mean, and that's the thing is, again, one of the things when you watch this, right, and this is why we left it in raw fit, in raw form, man, on the channel, right, is because first off, we want people to be able to investigate completely, right, just like we would, right. You're going to see everything. You're going to see everything just like we did. You know what I mean? What we got, and the other thing was, look, I mean, it's very obvious watching this video, you're talking about real people, you got a lot of people, man, during the trials, man, they would talk shit about these people. Right. And it's like, I mean, and it's easy to do. I mean, look, we all do it to some extent. Right. But I mean, the bottom line is, though, these are real people we're talking about. And this was not something nice. It was not something pretty. It was, there's nothing cool about this. Right. And, but I mean, people lose sight of that when, they don't actually see it. Now you're actually seeing how it actually went down, and man, and the repercussions of that, you know what I mean? There's people, who were really killed. There's people who are really hurt, and, what they did, for a living, or what they, what lifestyle they were living or whatever, none of that matters, so it's just like, again, it's just a very, it's kind of a surreal thing. You're looking at this and, man, it's like, okay, you can't help but feel for these people. I mean, you can't, I mean, it's just, it's like, it's just, it's, like I said, maybe it affects me a little different just because I do end up becoming friends with her. But I mean, it's like, but at the same time, I mean, even if I wasn't, I mean, as a matter of fact, even when I wasn't her friend, when I first watched these videos, I couldn't help but feel that way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is not, when you hear that, you she's hurt, the man, again, you can hear the fear in her voice. You can hear, man, all of it. Right. And, the frustration they have with Matt and all that other stuff. I mean, so this is this isn't, it's like, it's easy to blow these things off when you're not seeing, when you don't see it, but when you see it, it's a whole nother thing.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second?
I
had
go
the
ahead.
mods on high alert tonight so that we didn't get any trolls, but we've accidentally blocked Barney. He's a friend of the channel. Barney, just hang around for whatever period you just got quieted for, and we won't do it again. I'm sorry, dude. So I apologize.
Well, and you're going to have a lot of that. You're going to have a lot of not understanding why I get charged. But we'll go back to the whole picture from Fantasy Fest when we get to that point.
So I apologize, Barney, but hang in there. You'll be back shortly, and it won't happen again, I promise.
Can't give me anything, first name, last name. Can you tell me where he stays at?
Met him one time here.
1121, 1125.
But he kind of threatened me a little bit that night.
Okay. You ever seen him with a weapon? You know what he does for work?
1125. Instead of coming to me,
What's that?
I didn't even know his name was Detroit till the next day. I never addressed him. I never talked to him. He gave me the creeps from the moment he came on the property. But he wasn't.
11 Central. Can I run a Florida ID? It's going to be the RP.
He wasn't a friend of mine, and I didn't get involved.
1125. If you're still on one, attack 4. 1125. Go to attack 4. We're releasing control 1 and 2036.
Dude's not. He's not dead, is he?
So Todd knows who Detroit is too, by the way.
Is he bad?
All right.
But in his daytime interview, he says that he had heard Detroit visiting upstairs the week before.
Well, and that's the thing is, okay, so what he's doing is he's giving a more description on what Paul had already given him, right? Paula said big black eye Detroit. Now he's given an even greater detail, detailed description.
Right.
Dude, I went back to him and the other one was still up there.
Oscar 250-817-682-900. That's going to be the RP. The victim, first name is Paula. I know she's an MNI.
I'm just going to duck off to the ladies' room, so I just want to let this play for a minute or two, okay?
For this address, I'll get you a numerical shortly. Thank you, sir. Sir, do you live here? Okay, where do you live at? Okay. What did you hear? Thank you, sir. What did you hear or see?
I just heard some commotion, like help, and I came out, and he was up there, and then there was somebody going out.
Now, okay, this isn't
going on.
This
Did you
is
see the
not
person running out the gate?
Well, that was.
I'll tell you who he is
still
after
up there,
gets
but
back.
there was somebody going out the gate, and I didn't know it was like, what was going on? And she said somebody got stabbed.
No,
Guy
Todd
was
did
coming
not
down the
do
steps.
Detroit.
That other guy was coming in here because I think there was probably 2 people involved.
Okay.
And one of them ran out, and the other guy was still up there, and I couldn't really see because it's dark. But I didn't want to really be too closely involved with any of this bullshit anyway.
I gotcha.
So I went back in there with my dogs.
Okay.
Because I don't hang with these people.
Okay. So can you give me a description of anyone you saw, possibly?
Just
two people.
Really, I didn't, because it's so dark.
Okay.
I had my flashlight. I had my baseball bat in my hand. Say somebody tried to attack me.
Okay. And you live here? Yeah. This is the address here, 5650.
Yeah.
You mind if I get your info just because you live here?
So this is a man who lives in a little trailer right next to the treehouse. His name's Benjamin Hansen. So another witness for everybody.
1118 in America. It's going to be 5650
He says
Laurel
he's
Avenue.
grabbed the baseball bat.
5650 Laurel Avenue.
Copy, and that is the victim's treehouse location.
A-firm.
I think
Notice dispatch even calls it the treehouse.
From what I understand. I heard somebody.
I'm back now. So the guy in the white skivvy, that is Todd.
That's Todd O'Quinn.
That's not.
Yep. Okay, but now we're on to, she's interviewing Benjamin Hansen, right? That's the guy's name.
Right.
Yep. His full name's Benjamin Dean Hansen, but he lives in a little, it's like a little RV kind of trailer that you pull behind you would pull behind a truck, right? But that's what he lives in. It's right next door to the treehouse. He hears the commotion. He says he went back in to get his baseball bat, right? So he goes and gets a baseball bat when he hears the commotion. Right. Comes out, he again identifies a big black male, but again, didn't want anything to do with it. But he identifies that, there was a big black male there.
So far, everyone's identified a big black male. So we are at 2038 now. I just wanted to stop, but just do a little sidetrack because we've just got a couple of minutes left. I wanted to quickly jump over to this video because this is when you have just woken up and gone to the store.
Smaller than a fifth wheel. It's one of the little tiny pull trailers.
And so what I wanted to do was just show you guys at 2016 what was going on, because this is part of the story. This is a camera. Can you tell us what we're looking at here? So what's down this street?
Okay, so this street you're looking at right here, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of okay. You have the cross street where you're seeing it come in, right? But okay, you're going to see this street right here. That's second. That's Second Street, right? Okay, the warehouse is. You see where the red live is? If you're going that direction, you're going towards the warehouse. If you're going the other direction, towards the other side of the screen, then you're going towards the treehouse. That's the way.
Yeah,
the
but
road
I'm not
goes.
following you. Just follow my mouse cursor. Up this way is going towards what?
Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm having a little trouble seeing your mouse.
Towards the right of the street.
Hold on. Let me flip it this way. Let me flip it around. And yeah. Okay,
What's that going towards?
There we go. Okay, now I can see some things. All right, now let's see if I can find you. Okay, I still can't see your mouse though. Hold on.
All right. So if we're going to the right in front of those apartments.
Yeah. Okay. Let's put it that way. If you're going right, and if you're going to the right of this picture, If you're going to, to the right, you're going towards the treehouse. If you're going to the left, where that red live is, if you're going to the left, then man, you're going towards the warehouse. And you got to remember, they're only, look, it's probably, I'd say maybe 10 blocks, something like that. It's not very far, right? You're not talking about a very far distance.
So this person we're about to see is walking towards the treehouse at 2016.
Right, right. And that, eventually, he's identified, man. He identifies, man. He does actually admit who he is, at one point. But that's actually John Travis Johnson walking up 2nd Street towards the warehouse, not towards the warehouse, towards the treehouse. So he's actually walking from where the warehouse is to where the treehouse is, right?
So this is pre-crime. Like he's walking there to meet up with Rory.
No, this is after the crime, right? This is actually after the crime. So the thing is, this is actually after. So the thing is,
he's going from the warehouse towards the treehouse after the crime.
Towards the treehouse, right? But you got to remember, the whole man's story is that, and this I actually do believe, is Travis actually left Rory Wilson there, right? So he took off, because they showed up in a truck. Remember, they show up in a truck.
And he ran away.
Well, I mean, when he ran away, but he ran to the truck, jumped into the truck, and took off. And man, actually, if Justice of Process is still here, if Steve, from Justice of Process is still here, he was actually one of the ones that caught that on a very early video that we'll pull out from Todd O'Quinn. But Todd O'Quinn, Todd O'Quinn. While we haven't gotten into that yet, but I mean, he's the only person who has seen one of the assailants without his mask on, because as Travis was running away from the treehouse, he pulls his mask up, right, and takes his mask off. So that's how they know they're looking for a white guy. They know it's a black and a white guy because Paula knows that knows who it was, and she knows he's black. And Todd O'Quinn, when he ran up the hill to go call 911, saw the white assailant go ahead and take off his mask as he was running down the street. Right. He also says, man, he saw him jump into a truck, but that becomes important later. But the bottom line is so we know for a fact they arrived in a truck, right? But I mean, the whole thing is yes, Travis jumps into the truck and takes off and goes back to the warehouse, presumably, right? But now he's walking.
Travis, not you. That's who they think is you at this point.
Right. They do think that's me. They think that's me when they get to the point where they're actually trying to pin this thing on me. Right. They actually think that that's me. Right. At one point, that's Captain Phelps who thinks that. Right.
Yeah. And this is before or after you've gone to get some cigarettes.
No, this would have been This would have been before. This would actually have been before I went to go see cigarettes. I'm still in the warehouse asleep at this point. Right. So, I mean, Travis, man, jumped into the truck, takes off back down 2nd Street. Like I said, it's only like 10 blocks, right? Yeah, so he goes and parks his truck, and then goes walking back up 2nd Street towards the warehouse where he left, towards the treehouse where he left Rory Wilson, right? So he left Rory Wilson at the crime scene, right? But he goes walking back up the street to go and see, I'm assuming to go see what happened. That's what I've always assumed. He's just going up there to go see what happened, but he didn't want his truck there. He and he wanted to get away from there. So he jumped in his truck and left him. But the bottom line is, at
this point too, Todd says that he saw the white guy coming down. He saw the white guy stabbing Matt. And so he threw a couple of punches in and then took off across.
Right. He does have that story too. Right. And man, he says he sees him get into an altercation, if I remember right. I don't remember exactly how he puts it, but he says he got cut in the hand. And man, they'll do an interview with him later. But the interview where he only says this once, right? He only actually says this once. And he says it like, it's his very first statement before the cops actually take a statement from him, right? But he actually, at this point, Todd O'Quinn is actually on his way to the bar. He's on his way to Hogfish or whatever, because he just went through this shit and he actually wants to. He literally goes and finds a couple drinks before he comes back, and he gets picked up by the police on his way back from the bar.
Right.
You know,
I've got that one racked up next. So
yep. But I mean, just so you guys know, that is John Travis Johnson walking up that way, and then what you'll see not too long after that. I don't know if we still got the video running.
It's coming.
You'll see two people coming back, and that's actually ends up being Rory Wilson and John Travis Johnson. But what sucks is, while they were using, so there they are right there, right? That's them coming back, right? Okay, so you got Travis and you got Rory coming back. But here's one of the things that sucked when they did the whole, where they thought that was me and all that other stuff, and where they actually bought Travis's story as far as what Phelps had told them. Okay, when they start doing the interrogations and stuff, right, and do the interrogations, there's actually a very we joke about it a lot because it's just so stupid, and it's been used in some of the footage out there. But John Travis Johnson's looking at this at one point, and they're showing him the video, and he's like, "Oh, it's me," and then he's like, "Oh wait, no, that's not me, man. I don't have no, I don't have a hat like that, right?" So he literally, he like dimed himself. He literally dimes himself out, and but the cops just blow it off, and still want him, They still, Phelps still insists it's me even after he does that. It's just retarded, So it's like, it is what it is.
Just to pull the audience in, there's going to be some familiar names in here, and they're not the names that we're familiar with. So first of all, Phelps is one of the detectives, the chief. Phelps is a bad dude, so we're all good with that because Phelps in our Karen Reed story is a bad dude. So we kind of got, two Phelps that you can feel the same about. But there's a Higgins in this who's not a bad dude. It's actually a girl and not a bad person. So just so everyone's prepared for these names to come out, because we've already got ourselves, worked
that
up.
Comes up actually, Gingy. People actually do look at Todd for it. I don't think he had anything to do with it, but yes, people, have brought that one up. Again, there's a lot of things we don't know in here. There's people who do think that Todd was involved. I personally don't. But at the same time, there are people who do, because there's Todd is everywhere in this. Literally, when we watch these body cam footages, he pops up a lot of places, and but he's also not the only one who took off. You got to remember there were other people there who just took off, right? Because Belinda Corrales, no, she's gone, she's out of there. Roosevelt Washington, he's kind of a tall, skinny black man. He's out. He's gone. As soon as Roger Ruggett, the guy that actually testified at the trial, was it the Schwazer? No, he's out. He's gone too, man. All of them just took off, man. It's like, typical as far as when crimes happen in, these kind of areas, it's like, people just take off and they don't want to get busted. They're more worried about getting busted for drugs, than hanging around. So, that's kind of what's happening here, at least what happened. There's also another man, which I don't think we saw him yet, because it's kind of hard. I'm doing it on my phone. But there's another man that was there named Michael Alexander, and he shows up later at the Tom Thumb. Now, from this picture we're looking at, if you go to the right up that street, before you get to the Treehouse, like I said, the Tom Thumb's right there on the corner. Right, where you can see all the cop lights and all that. So the Tom Thumb's not very far up this street. But here's the point is, that the camera footage from that Tom Thumb would have been invaluable, right? Just straight up invaluable. Because, again, I went there to go get cigarettes. You could tell what time I went there. Again, I told you I went with Travis. You could see when we were there. You could also see when Rory Wilson goes by there. You can also see when Travis goes up there to get Rory Wilson, see what happened there. Michael Alexander shows up there. Lots of people go to that, go to that Tom Thumb, right? And I think I already told you what happened to the video from that, and why we're not going to be able to see video from that. Because look, if we had video from the Tom Thumb, we probably wouldn't even be watching this. You know what I mean? Exactly. But the bottom line is the story we get, and you guys all heard that at trial, when good old Danielle Malone was up on the stand. And Danielle Malone, if you want to go chain of command, the chain of command at this point is you have Captain Phelps, who is in charge of all of major crimes, right? She's also in charge of other things too, but she's in charge of major crimes. And below her, you have Detective Matthew Pitcher. And that was the articles I had, I sent to you, man, and had you read. Matthew Pitcher is the deposition for that. The one below him, if you can believe it or not, is this woman named Danielle Malone. And Danielle Malone, the idea of this woman being a detective, I mean, it's amazing, because okay, the whole story they give us is to why we don't have the Tom Thumb video, which there is no Tom Thumb video. We have never been given a Tom Thumb video, but we do know that it existed at some point in time. Because okay, her excuse is
it's a case of the missing CCTV footage again, the exculpatory bit of footage.
Right, the exculpatory evidence, the shit that could actually have proved me innocent, right? Everybody always wants to know what my alibi was, right? All that other kind of crap. Here's the problem: is they get rid of anything that could have proven me innocent, right? That Tom Thumb video, that was invaluable to us. We put a lot of work into trying to find out what happened to that, right? And the thing is okay, so their excuse is they don't have it because they got the wrong date. That's the excuse they come up with. They pulled the wrong date. Now, if you watch in some of these other videos that we have, well, they're okay. There's what's his name? Brady. Sorry. You'll see Sergeant Brady, right? And he's at the Tom Thumb, and he sends a cop into the Tom Thumb to go collect the video, right? To actually go get it, right?
Yeah.
But it actually doesn't end up getting collected until days later, which, man, again, doesn't make very much sense, since he sent somebody in there to get it right then. So that becomes a question mark, right? But okay, but their excuse is when she went and got it, she picked up the wrong date, and they didn't have, so unfortunately, they tape over or whatever at that store. So, man, so now it's lost and we're never going to get it, right? But okay, but then we turn around and we're like, okay, well, since you got the wrong date, why don't you give us that date? Give us, let us see that tape. Maybe we'll find something on it. Maybe they were casing the joint, whatever. Well, why don't you give us that tape, right? Nope, we don't have that one either, right? Yeah. And then it comes on, it comes up on another one where, Detective Pitcher, when he's doing the interrogation of John Travis Johnson, he literally goes to John Travis Johnson and he holds up the, his cell phone. He's like, "Is this you? This comes from the Tom Thumb video. Is this you at Tom Thumb?" Right. And so the thing is, so he has it on his phone, right? But of course, okay, when we go to ask for that, then the excuse is, well, their phone's got some kind of virus and crashed, and they didn't have the footage from the phones. So I mean, you wonder why, man. Again, I talk about it being dirty. You wonder why look, come on, common sense here. There's no way, man, that they lost all three of those those versions of those videos. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, there's just no, I mean, look, you are either so incompetent that there's no way you should be a police officer, or you're lying. It's simple as that. You know what I'm saying? And then, okay, then comes the question, why are you lying? And this is where, man, the whole case just starts to get like that, right? There's all kinds of things that come up. And, when I think I told you about the whole incompetently corrupt. Yes, they are incompetently corrupt, because I mean, look, who the hell is going to buy that kind of crap? You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, nobody out there is that dumb, to sit there and be like, okay, well, oh, you got the wrong date here. Oh, well, great job. And then, okay, well, oh, wait, you don't have the wrong date tape. What happened to that? Oh, we never get an excuse for that. And then, oh, wait a second, but somebody recorded on their cell phone, but man, that one, it crashed and burned because it was never put into evidence. It's like, come on, man. So yeah, it's crazy.
So from this point, I just wanted to go quickly over like the arrest part. And I do have an article here which kind of doesn't even mention you, which I find interesting. Like the cops don't even mention you in this. So it says they've arrested 3 of you. This week, detectives charged Rory Hank Wilson, Franklin Tucker, and John Johnson for their alleged roles in the stabbing of Matthew Bonet and the armed robbery and knife injuries to 53-year-old Paula Belmonte. Police say the stabbing was related to a crack cocaine deal and occurred during the robbery of a Treehouse resident. One man, 2 women were reportedly living in the Treehouse. I mean, there's a lot more than that living there, located in the trailer.
Well, at least a lot more that were there at the time, right? There was a lot more at the time.
Exactly. Detectives say the 3 men planned the robbery after hearing there might be a large amount of cash in the home. Paula told investigators she was in bed just after 8 p.m. when the 2 suspects showed up at her home. She said Wilson and the other suspect held her and a male friend who was visiting her at knife point. Wilson allegedly slashed her throat with a knife. Belmonte, who later picked Wilson out of a photo lineup, said she was able to recognize him by his voice and by the way he walks, even though he was wearing a mask during the altercation.
Exactly.
The homicide victim, Matthew Bonet, was reportedly just trying to help out his neighbour when he was killed. Johnson drove Wilson and Tucker to Belmont's place in his truck. So we don't have any evidence that actually what even gave them that idea, but I do have
you'll
that.
find that out later when we watch the interrogations. That's where that idea comes from. And actually, one of the tapes that we're going to have to pull out is I think I told you about it already. It was the it's an empty interview room, right? And actually, one of the other channels did a really good job of enhancing the audio on it, right? Because when Lauren first found that, it was tapes. It's like 4.5 hours worth of tapes that look like empty. It's just empty interview room, right? Yeah. But what it catches is, she went ahead and put on some good Bose headphones and caught, them literally talking about, man, from the point where, man, they actually decide, man, because Phelps is the one who decides to go ahead and have me charged. Not even just charged, but she literally is sitting there when Detective Pitcher and Danielle Malone are coming back from interviewing Gabby, who's the 911 caller we talked about earlier, right? They go in and interview her and her boyfriend. Well, they're coming back from that, right? And literally Phelps is up there and they're doing she has Chuck Kellenberger doing a photo lineup with me in it, right? And she literally points to the screen and she's like, there's your white guy, right? And none of them bother to ask, well, what makes you think that, right? What evidence do we have, man? What evidence do we have? Anything like that. As soon as she said, I'm the white guy, that's it. I'm the white guy, and you actually go
that night. They interviewed multiple white guys that night. So just that
right. No, I get it. And that's the thing is, but what's worse is, man, after that, if you keep listening to that tape, then they sit there and they start theorizing what happened without any evidence, right? Well, Tucker must have done the stabbing, because of this, or, they start theorizing, man, what actually happened when they don't have any evidence to support any of it. You know what I mean? So they're just coming up with this wild story, but but don't get me wrong. They do that throughout the entire case. Throughout the entire case, they just keep changing their story every time it doesn't match the evidence.
Well, let's have a listen now to what Rory says, because Rory denies that he was with you. So let's.
4 minutes after a 911 call, where the person said the guy has been stabbed. He's face down. He's in a pool of blood. He's unresponsive. How do you explain you and Ty walking away from that area down 2nd Street, dressed in the exact clothing that April told us you were both wearing that day, together down 2nd Street, 4 minutes after the guy got murdered? How, Rory? Explain it.
Let me tell you something, Cap, because I wasn't with her. I was with Travis. Travis, get a black truck, Dodge Ram. I wasn't with Tyrone. No.
God damn.
So there you go. She that's Phelps, isn't it? That blonde lady.
Yeah, that would be Captain Phelps. Captain Phelps. I mean, she's a piece of work, man. We're gonna have a lot of fun with her, man, going through this.
When was this interview taken in relation to the crime? Just so we know.
This was actually taken. Well, this was taken the night of the 21st the night of the 21st. Okay. And this is when they came and they did a search warrant execution on the warehouse. They basically, which means they came in with a SWAT team and battering rams, literally, assault rifles, the whole 9 yards. Right.
It says the 22nd, and it happened on the 20th, right? So this is 2 days afterwards they finally found him, right?
Right. Oh yeah. They knew where he was, man, before this, right? Before they actually came in and did the raid. No, they were actually watching the house, right? Yeah. So they're watching the house, and one of the things they see when they're watching the house is, he goes and gets rid of a bag of bloody clothing, right? Yeah. Now here's the funny part about that. Now, don't get me wrong. When they go to test for DNA and stuff like that, there was bleach poured in it, and there was beer in it, and stuff in it that prevented them from getting DNA, right? Obviously. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, but okay. And here's the thing: here's a thing with this too. Is okay. Neither of the women in this who are actual suspects, neither of them get charged because April Walker, who is Rory's 9-month pregnant girlfriend, when they're running surveillance on the house, she's actually playing lookout for Rory Wilson when he's getting rid of the bloody clothes. But she also never gets arrested, right? And man, well, again, I kind of understand that somewhat. She's 9 months pregnant, but but the bottom line is she doesn't get arrested for anything. She does though. One of the reasons, man, Phelps. That's one of the things Phelps uses to get her to change her story. Because when she first tells her story, she says she didn't see me that night. Well, then Phelps, man, keeps on going at her, and she comes up with this, wild story about how I'm changing in the storeroom of the warehouse, and I'm buck naked, man, in front of the window, and I'm changing in the storehouse, but I'm supposedly changing out of bloody clothing, right? Well, here's the thing: is the crime goes down at about 8:22. I think is when the timestamp is, man, when they think the crime happened, right? And so 8:22, and she says. When she makes up this story, she says, man, she sees me in the storeroom at 12 midnight changing out of bloody clothes. Well, it's like, okay, well, what was I doing for those 4 hours, almost 4 hours, man, hanging around in bloody clothes? It's like, okay, that story doesn't make, we'll get to that when we actually get to the warehouse and all that. But the point is there's a lot of things that, just don't even make sense right off the rip here. But the problem is, Phelps, the blonde lady right there, Phelps. When we listen to the audio from the interview room tapes, no, when she says, like I said, she comes in, she's like, and here's the kicker, guys. The reason she, man, thinks that is because of that picture that I did on Halloween. That's where, man, she's like, booyah, there's our white boy, and I get tagged because of that damn picture. That woman, man, there thinks that, man, okay. Booyah, there's our white boy, because, man, look, she knows if she shows that, right? She shows that picture to a jury, I'd be done, right? I mean, that's it, man. I mean, booyah, you are the white boy, right? Because, man, you show that picture to a jury and say, this guy is, man, this is the guy who did it. Well, man, a lot of people are going to look at that picture and they're going to be like, yeah, he did it. No, but the problem is, man, look, that picture never made it in because there's nothing from the crime in it. We actually made sure that stayed out of the trial. But at the same time, but that is what ends up getting me arrested. That is what, man, that picture is what makes Phelps, just go, okay, I can close this case right now. But anyway, you're absolutely correct though. Rory Wilson's in here going, I was with Travis. I was in the black truck, Dodge Ram. Literally just keeps on going with this.
This is another one. This is one where he says, "Can I go home if I say Tyrone?"
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one.
A lot of people don't like. They don't know. But they don't like me. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't go by that name as No Detroit, because that ain't my name. You know what I'm saying? And that's probably what them people know me as. From the people talking. But I ain't never told nobody my name was Detroit. I'm from Detroit. So that's where them names like that come from. But my name is Roy. A lot of people call me Roy or Nino. I don't go by them name Detroit. But it's a lot of them people out there, man. Even from cops, even from the dudes to the girls, from cops, people upstairs in that place where they freeloading at. It's a lot of them. I mean, I don't know the names like that, Cap, you know what I'm saying? I don't. But one thing I do know, I know I ain't hurt nobody, bro. And I know I didn't do that, man. And my girl know I ain't do no shit like that. I'll be the dumbest person in the world. You're about to have a baby do some shit like that. And income tax come right around. You know what I mean? I wasn't hurt for no money like that. Why I gotta go do something?
Well, one could say that someone who's about to have a baby would do something like that.
Well, especially since, income tax is coming around and, but unfortunately, man, he ain't working at the time. So, I mean, well, at least not, I mean, look, he's working under the table, man, doing hurricane cleaning and stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do
But
that,
there's a
man.
difference between doing the murder via the treehouse.
Yeah, but see, I'm telling you, bro, I had nothing to do with that. What he did, now putting two together, she told me he's changing clothes. Maybe he had something to do with it, but I can't just say I saw it because I didn't. I even know nothing about it. But if I would have saw it, I would have said something. It would have kept me in mind. Hell yeah, I would have said something. Because you can call it snitch if you want to, but I would have told. It would kept me in mind. But I didn't know. I didn't even know that. She just told me. I didn't know that. I didn't know April saw that. She didn't tell me. But I could guarantee if she would have told me, I would have questioned that shit. Trust me.
So that April that he's talking about there, that's his other half, right?
Well, that's the thing is, April is the 9-month pregnant woman, right? But okay, he's talking about that story I just told you about where she, ran this story about me, changing in the warehouse at like 12 midnight out of bloody clothes, right? Well, okay, but when we look at when you look at the interview and with April Walker, when she does that, when Captain Phelps does that one, yes, I mean she's literally going, tell me something about Ty. Ty's the bad guy here, we know Rory's the good guy, blah blah blah, all this other crap. But the bottom line is when she decides to give that story, when she gives the story about me changing the clothes in the storeroom, is when she mentions the bag of bloody clothing that they have, right, that they recovered, right? Because man, they actually did, go ahead. Because Rory tried to take it out to the trash can, and I wish I could show you guys, but literally from what we were told, the surveillance unit, he was using the backs of his hands to carry the bag because, man, he didn't want to leave fingerprints on it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, how suspicious does that look? You're going to carry a bag with the backs of your hands, and man, again, just idiotic. I mean, these guys, one of the things that, man, bugged me about this whole thing is like, okay, not only, man, am I getting tagged for, all this horrible crap, but again, I'm being lumped in with these idiots over here. Because, I mean, that's just like, okay, let me carry down the street with the backs of my hands, man, so that, I don't get fingerprints on something. Like, that's not going to look suspicious. I mean? But anyway, so Phelps gets her to say that. That's true. And, man, she says it as soon as that bloody bag comes up because now she knows she can be an accessory, right? So anyway, so as soon as she goes ahead and says it, though, here's the problem with that.
Hang on.
Yeah.
You're still not clear which April it is. It's his April that does that, right?
That's his April. That's his girlfriend. That's why I always call her Thea. I know they use her nickname April quite a few times, but it just helps me to keep the two separated. You know what I mean? But
to be clear, that's who he was talking about in that one, not Anathea, because we know from what Anathea was involved in all of this.
Yep.
There's a revenge against her.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is okay, but he's talking about his girlfriend because his girlfriend, that's the first person they interviewed was April Walker, right?
Why did they?
And Phelps does it in a squad car,
Why did she get brought into it? She wasn't even at the treehouse, so why is she the first person?
Well, because remember I told you they came in and did like a SWAT team raid at the warehouse, right? You guys okay? Okay. Anyway, they they did the SWAT team raid at the warehouse, right? And when they come in and do that, April Walker's brought out into a squad car. Rory Wilson and I are taken down to the station, right? And apparently Travis, I mean, again, from all what I know is he wasn't there originally, right? But he is there later, right? He shows up later or something like that. But the thing is okay, you know, so they take Rory Wilson and me down to the station, and you'll find out why as far as, man, when you listen to the other tape. But the bottom line is, okay, what they're talking about here is, man, April Walker is saying that, I was changing in the storeroom of the warehouse, and she came in. I'm like, buck naked in there with a bag of bloody clothes that, man, I was changing out of, right? And that's the story she comes up with, right? Now, here's the thing. The problem with that is, though, Phelps never orders, man, anybody to go in there, and doesn't even have April Walker, man, Walker in there with, because there's no electricity in there, right? But doesn't even have April Walker in there with a flashlight and say, okay, well, where did you see him? You know what I'm saying? So that they could go and do some luminol, look for blood, that kind of, that kind of investigative kind of crap. You know what I'm saying? But but that doesn't get done, right? Her excuse for not doing it. I love this one. She goes, man, he does. When we were at this was at my bond hearing, right? My first one, man. When I did my Arthur hearing, she says, she testifies. She's like, well, we couldn't do a forensic search on the warehouse. It was just too big. There's just too many places, man, to look. And really, I mean, look, they all live there anyway, so we're going to find their DNA there anyway. Right, that was the excuse.
But they had a witness to take him to the exact spot to look, apparently. So that's a pretty vague excuse.
Well, and that's the thing is that's what I'm saying. No, that's what she should have done. As soon look, if this was a real investigation, as soon as she got out of the car with April Walker, right, she should have said, okay, why don't you take me in there, show me exactly where you saw him, changing out of these bloody clothes, right? Yeah, makes sense. Right, because then they can bring in the forensics team. They can go ahead and do their luminol and check for blood and all, check for DNA and all that crap. And then the other excuse is equally as stupid, right? Because when you're sitting there going, well, but we're going to find, look, they all live there, so we're going to find their DNA there anyway, right? Well, it's not their DNA you're looking for, right? You're looking for the victim's DNA at that point. And here's the one. Here's a little tidbit for you. And man, look, I never got to put this theory to the test, but I'll tell you where I think there's some DNA. I bet you I know where you could find some in that warehouse. Because I think the warehouse is actually still there. I'm not sure, but I think it is still there. I know the treehouse is not, right? The treehouse got demolitioned. Yeah. But the warehouse itself, okay, that one, I guarantee you, even to this day, if it's still there, you go into Rory Wilson's apartment and you go and look in the drains of the shower or the sink. I bet you find some DNA up in there. You know what I mean? But that's the thing is, okay, it's common sense. You know what I mean? But Phelps, it's not common sense. It's just she just goes ahead and rattles it off but she rattles it off with such authority that people just accept it as true. It's just crazy.
So we'll listen to more of her coaxing the witness in this one, because I just found this one very interesting, because she's more or less is saying, if you say Tyrone done it, like it's more of a bribe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it took Rory a second to catch on, but once he catches on, man, yeah, he's like, wait a second, if I say Ty done it, I get to go home. It's like that one.
And I would have called 911. Seriously, bro, I don't play that like that. It ain't that serious.
Rory, I'm going to leave the room. I'm going to leave you with a thought. Next time you talk to April, the next time you have a conversation with the mother of your son, I want you to think long and hard what you're going to have to say in the way of making this right and apologizing to her.
But I ain't even do I ain't even do nothing though, Kat.
I'm going to let you know that this is a situation where you could do right by her and do right by your son and do right by you. And we know you didn't hurt anybody, you didn't intend to hurt anybody, and you sure as heck never meant to kill anybody. And you didn't kill anybody. I know that. We all know that. April said in her heart and soul, she knows you're not capable of killing a person. She knows you're not.
Like that. Well, I don't do none of that.
I don't believe for 1 minute you did the murder.
I catch them.
I don't believe.
Release the fish. That's in me like that.
I don't believe for 1 minute you killed anybody.
I did.
Rory, I do think you were there.
That's my bone right there.
They are told by the witnesses it was a black guy in a mask and she doesn't believe he did anything. Like, how dense is this lady? Or as
Well, no, I mean that part. She's using what's called the Reed technique. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yes.
You know, this is the Reed technique of interrogation.
It's one of the
What she's doing is she's going ahead and trying to reassure him that somehow he's going to get a lighter charge or he's going to be able to walk or whatever because we know you're a good guy. We know you didn't do it. And but we know Ty did. Something like that, right? And that's the whole idea.
Playing
Is
guys up against each other too is a big
right.
part.
That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
That is the whole way it works, right? And that there's a whole system to it. But what's funny is our
channel we have an aversion to the Reed technique because it is.
Oh yeah, I don't like the Reed technique at all, right?
Yeah.
Look, how stupid is this? This guy actually did this, right? Because at this point you already have a witness. You already caught him getting rid of bloody clothes. It's like, okay, you've got things saying he did this, right?
Yeah.
And his nickname is Detroit, and yes, Paula puts him there, again, so does Todd O'Quinn. So you have witnesses, you have video, you have bloody clothes, you have all kinds of stuff on this guy, right? But instead of going ahead with that and saying, okay, let's book this asshole, right? No, you're going to go ahead and tell him to implicate somebody that you have absolutely no evidence on, right? I mean, that's just, who does that?
Because they've got no evidence on you. They need him to say something because they have
but that's what I've been screaming for years. Okay, if you have no evidence on me, guess what? That's probably because I didn't have anything to do with it. Again, the whole idea of investigation is you're supposed to go and follow the evidence, right? That's the idea, right? But instead of following the evidence and actually doing a good investigation, they're just trying to cut a corner here and just go ahead and send us all to prison. You know what I'm saying? There's a section of that tape that makes me sick on the one that we're going to look at later, but where she literally Phelps Pitcher goes to Phelps, the lead detective goes to Phelps, and he's like, we don't really got a lot on Tucker, and she's like, it doesn't matter, they're all going to prison anyway, and they all start laughing, and that's the attitude here. They don't really care about us. They don't care that I have a family. They don't care, man, that I have friends. They don't care that, man, I have a life. You
have that video, don't you, where they're setting
you
up?
Yeah. I'll make sure. Believe me, I'm going to make sure you get it. Because that's when you talk about uncovering the misconduct and what was done wrong here. That tape is a huge part of it. That's actually what gets Phelps fired later, actually, too. So it becomes a very important part too. She gets fired over that.
Yes.
So
we'll get to that.
Yep.
My phone.
Rory, why were you on the phone at midnight that night?
I talking to some people. I don't even know if I was on the phone that night. I be getting my days mixed up, but I'm gonna tell you my age, but it ain't like I'm lying.
What people would you be on the phone with at midnight?
A lot of my people up north, you know what I'm saying? Dallas, you know what I'm saying? Atlanta. I know a lot of people, bro. I got a lot of friends, you know what I'm saying? So, not probably people in Key West, but, other places, you know what I'm saying? But,
no idea.
like I say, bro, I'm gonna get that phone, check that phone, call Travis right now and ask him, what did me and Rory do that? Did we walk up to our own time? He gonna tell you, yeah, whoever was in that picture with Tyrone wasn't me. I know that on my unborn child, it wasn't me. You know what I mean? It wasn't.
And I can promise you we will talk to Travis. Absolutely.
It was actually a black guy, so you can't rule yourself out and go just leave the two white guys hanging. So if you have kids there that you need to go deal with, so we will finish up after this video.
Oh no, I'm actually okay. It's I just got a big old pit bull that decided to come up and get on my lap, and he can be a little pushy at times. So but okay. We're fine.
Dog's fine, but if it's kids, I understand if you've got something.
See, there we go.
I can promise that as long as we can find them.
Yeah. That's why him calling my phone. I know April didn't tell him what happened. He probably very sick about me. Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Because he know I ain't like that. Just like April know. He probably worried about me about it. You know what I mean? I'm sitting in the room with handcuffs on, man. Come on, for rush. You know what I'm saying? You could just call me and told me, cause I would care voluntarily. Listen, let me say this to you guys. If somebody did a crime so heinous as this, you think they gonna stick around? Not, you know what I'm saying? Come on, that don't make sense. I ain't going nowhere.
Rory, I got a really plausible explanation for why you stuck around. Your girl is due to drop a baby any day. She's praying it's going to be the day before or after her birthday.
Yeah, birthday Monday.
Yep, because she says she doesn't want to have the baby or her get screwed out of birthday gifts. Yeah. And when you have the same birthday, somebody ends up taking a licking.
Yeah, we have plans. We have plans. You know,
she said she knows it's going to be hers, so she's hoping she has the baby before or after her. So that's a real good explanation. Yeah. The other thing is, you got a job, and it's hard to find a place to stay. And so like I explained to April, it's not the best place in the world to live right now, but it sure is not the worst either.
Right.
It's a roof over your head, and there's food in your belly.
Well, I provided that. Yes. I provided that. Mm-hmm. I did what I was
tonight,
supposed to do.
she's home alone in the dark. Probably with Ty. In a very short period of time, Rory, read between the lines. Who do you think is going to be walking away?
Did she just hint that you two are having an affair or something?
No. What she's doing is this. She just let him know that, man, okay, I'm going home. That's what she's saying. You know, read between the lines, Rory. You know, she's probably going to be there tonight with Ty. You know, because, man, I'm going home is what she's trying to imply to him. Right. Yeah. Well, and that's where he comes up, man. You know, again, that's when he's going to come up, man. He's going to figure out, wait a second, you know, hold on. I want to be the one go home.
I get where you're going. Yeah.
From this building tonight, you or Ty, and then ask yourself, how come he gets to walk away and you don't?
Because I wasn't there. So why would he? You telling me that he said he done it? That what you told me?
I'm telling you, you're staying here, and he's going home. So you read between the lines. And in what world does that happen? And why would that happen? And you know when he leaves here, Rory, guess where he's going? And guess who's terrified of him?
That's a lie, bro. I can't believe that man is sitting there and put that shit on me. I had nothing to do with it. He lying. Put two and two together. If he was in the storage room, taking out the clothes, changing his clothes off, why would he do that? He never done that.
I don't know the answer to that, Rory.
So I guess, okay, they're like me. Okay, well, he done it. I can go home if I can say, if I can say, but yeah, Tyrone done it.
Mm-hmm. Now, here comes the problem with that one. Okay, he says that, and then the camera cuts off, right? 3 minutes, man, go by. You know, something. You know, it's approximately 3 minutes. It might be off by a couple seconds, but it's approximately 3 minutes of time, and then the camera cuts back on, and then he's got all of a sudden he's got a story saying how me and Tony and Steve were all up in the warehouse, man, plotting and scheming on this robbery, right? Even the cops, man, admitted, Detective Pitchers admitted it, but later, they knew that, man, Tony and Steve don't exist and no, this really didn't happen. So, but they were more than willing to live with the lie and go ahead and use this to go ahead and, implicate me, Right. So it's like, I mean, the idea that this is somehow police work, no, and the problem is Phelps uses this technique. Okay. If you actually read the read technique and, actually see what the rules are for it and how it works and all that. The very first thing it says is, first off, you're supposed to do a thorough investigation before you ever even use the technique, right? Because the whole point of it is to get a confession. That's the idea of it, right? Is you're using this to try and get a confession because the person is involved, right? Because you actually have other evidence that says they're involved. So that, look, I have all this evidence, but it'd be a lot better, prosecution if I can get them to confess. Right. So that's when you're supposed to use this. But she uses it on everybody. Like as you watch the tapes, like when you go through all the tapes, right? You know, the body worn footage, all that, right? She literally uses it on witnesses. She uses it on suspects. She uses it on her own people. She actually uses it on the cops too. This is a very manipulative woman, right? You know, and in my opinion, slightly crazy, you know, but that's beside the point. You know, Phelps and I have quite a bit of history at this point. You know, because a lot of people don't know this part either. Is okay. This woman goes ahead and, you know, she is her and the first prosecutor are the ones that really are responsible for getting me into this. Right? Literally bringing me into this. And Phelps does get fired eventually, you know, before trial. So does Colleen Dunn, who is the state, you know, the prosecutor at this point, right? But the thing is Phelps. Okay, so this woman sets me up for homicide, right? And then turns around and gets fired, and then turns around and sues me for defamation because she got fired.
What?
So, yeah, she sues me, my wife, and our attorney, and the sheriff. She sues him for discrimination. You know, she claims discrimination on him. But for the rest of us, you know, for my attorney, my wife, myself, she sues us for defamation and civil conspiracy because, you know, she lost her job because we outed her misconduct.
And how did that end up? How did that end up?
Oh no, she lost. She lost. As a matter of fact, that was okay. The funny thing is a lot of people tripped out when I took the stand during the trial. That was not the first time I took the stand. The first time I took the stand was in the civil case, because the civil case, I got subpoenaed to go and, you know, take the stand in the civil case. What was funny about that is, okay, the lawyer we had from that case didn't know me very well, didn't know the case very well, right? And you know, so he was a little bit worried, right? And you gotta think, man, he's, you know, look, he's a lawyer. He thinks I did it. You know, that's just the way it is. You know, he didn't know very much about the case. He thought I did it, right? So, but he sends me, you know, and the reason this is how I know it, that he thought that. He sends me a 15-page thing on the benefits and drawbacks of pleading the fifth in a civil case, right? And so he sends me this thing, and I read about maybe a page of it, and that's about it, right? And I hit him up, and I'm like, look, man, you know, they have 5,700 hours worth of phone calls between me and my wife. I have literally done interviews with everybody and their brother. You know, I've told everybody about this case. You know, if I was going to somehow, you know, screw up my lie or implicate myself or something like that, that shit would have happened years ago. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's like not only am I not going to plead the fifth, and I told it, I'm gonna be a little bit raw here, but, you know, I told him, I was like, not only am I not going to plead the fifth, but I can't wait to look that bitch in the eye and tell her exactly what's up. You know, because I mean, look, you know, this is the woman who cost me 5 years of my life, and and a godly amount of money. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I guess I have a little harsh feelings over that, you know, especially when, again, I'm being sued for defamation by somebody who set me up for murder, you know? So, you know, that one was, it was an interesting case. I mean, but, she goes ahead and, man, the funny thing is the day of that, when they actually came time for me to take the stand, you know, her shitty lawyer, she has a ambulance chasing lawyer, right? I never liked him very much either, but okay. He spends about 2 hours on my lawyer, right? You know, and, you know, doing his, you know, when he has her on the stand, spends about 2 hours on Lauren, on my wife. And then now comes the big show. Everybody wants to see, you know, because yes, anything I say can and will be held against me, right? So I get up, you know, it's my turn to go on the stand. This guy asked me maybe about 12 questions, something like that. Said, wait, you know, all of a sudden he's like, you know, let me take a 5-minute break. He runs in the back, goes and talks to Phelps. Oh, because I didn't get to look her in the eye because she couldn't do it. You know, she actually had to sit in the back. She didn't want to do it. But okay, so he goes running in the back. You know, he comes back and he asks me maybe 4 more questions, and he was like, "Okay, that's it," and he takes off and runs. You know, because every question he asked me, I was literally throwing it right back at him and his client. You know, it's like, okay, you know, look, and this is why Mansfield had trouble with me even during the trial, is because look, you can't twist the truth. You know, I can sit there, you know, I don't have to worry about messing up my lie because, man, really? No, I don't have to worry about that. You do, I don't. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I can sit there, you know, I can sit there quite comfortably, you know, as far as that goes. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, one of the things they tell you is not to get overly emotional about it or whatever. But, you know, and I actually had to apologize to my lawyer, you know, later because I was like, look, man, you know, here's my problem, you know, because he's trying to tell me not to be emotional about it when I was on the stand. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, look, you know, here's the deal is, you know, you know, look, I could try and not to be emotional about it. But the reality is if I do that, you know, it's going to come off like I'm lying. You know what I'm saying? Because yes, I am angry about it, you know, and if I try and act like I'm not, then the jury's going to perceive that, you know, like I'm lying, you know what I mean? Because I kind of am. No, I am pissed off about it, you know? So, I mean, you know, I did come across as kind of hostile, you know, as far as, you know, I mean, it's not like I was cursing them out or anything like that, but that's the way it went, right?
Can we just clear up the timing of the civil case versus your actual trial? What was that timing? Were they at the same
The
time?
civil case, let's see. She lost the civil case. She lost the civil case before I went to trial, right?
Right.
So she lost it, you know, but she also appealed it. Well, she appealed it and she lost her appeal after I went to trial. So, but the thing is you got to understand though, it still costs us a gank load of money to defend that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, you know, so that there is that part of it, you know.
Right.
But don't get me wrong.
That brings us to another topic as well. So just to finish that that line of questioning, everyone in the chat is actually well familiar with Karen Reed being sued civilly in her case, and this is like a ploy to get you up on the stand to incriminate yourself in a different trial, so that then that can be used against you in your trial.
Exactly.
So that's asking you about the timing, because it felt like before you even said it, I kind of knew the game that was going to be played out there.
Yep. Same game. I mean, look, she didn't do it as any kind of strategy because, I mean, she had already lost her job, right? And I mean, matter of fact, as I know it, I mean, you know, she lost pretty much everything, you know, I mean, you know, over this. But I mean, you know, but don't get me wrong. Yes, she's still going to be included in my lawsuits when I come back at her, you know. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's going to be my turn very soon here, you know, so.
That brings us to sort of like just a really quick rundown without going into the trial itself, because we want to do that in a separate show. But what I would like is just a really quick rundown on how much you spent civilly, and then when you ran out of money to the point where you decided to represent yourself. Like just a quick rundown on the theory that you were playing with there, because I believe you've done exactly the right thing. We all of us here are in the same position as you. If it was one of us being accused of murder, none of us have the money to defend ourselves. So,
well, and it's not even just that. It's like, I mean, because that was actually not my reasoning for going pro se. I went, you know, now granted, I mean, it played a role in it, right? I mean, because the lawyers we had, you know, they wanted quite a bit of money to go to trial, right? I mean, we had already paid them. You know, look, I mean, Lauren would have been the better one to ask about the money, right? Because, you know, she was definitely keeping track better than I was. But the thing is, okay, I'd say probably between $1 million and $2 million is what we spent on the case in general, right? And that they wanted another $200,000 to do the trial. That's what they were asking for, right? They wanted $200,000 to do the trial. Now that doesn't include the civil case. The civil case, that's more money there, you know.
And then
now
on top of all of that, you would also spent $2 million just on your bail, right? Because it went up.
No. Okay, the bond. Now a lot of people get that confused. We put up 10%, so we got 200,000. You know, we put up 200,000. Actually, I should say Lauren put up 200,000 because we weren't married at that point. But you know, go ahead and you know, she put up 200,000 there. Right. And she put her houses up and, you know, as collateral. And, you know, but that's 200,000 that, you know, we're not going to get back, you know what I mean? Unless we sue them, you know what I'm saying? Which, you know, that's where we're at now. But the thing is okay, so, you know, yeah, and that's just in what we were spending in the criminal case, right? Because, okay, for a while there, it was costing us a lot of money on lawyers per month, you know what I mean? You know, if I remember correctly, it was probably on average about, you know, 30 grand a month between the two of them, you know? So, I mean, it's like, so you're spending $30,000 a month, you know, the case went on for how long? You know, I mean, it's, you know, it's a lot of money, but then, you know, this one, you know, again, who knows she's wrong. And you guys are, you know, we're going to go into, you know, when we start getting into the corruption and, you know, we start getting into the misconduct in this thing, right? It's like, you know, I mean, they are so far wrong. It's not even funny, right? Like the idea that I ever went to trial is insane, right? But the bottom line is okay. But again, that's why, you know, many people have heard me say, and, you know, I've said it, you know, I even said it when I was being interviewed outside the courtroom. You know, I even called the judge out and called it, you know, look, I know he's dirty too. I've known he's been dirty since 2019, you know? But look, here's the difference though, is when I make an accusation, it's because, man, I have evidence that actually says that, you know, I can actually bring up evidence and show in black and white. It's not a guess. It's not an opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's you actually did something wrong, you know? Whereas, unfortunately, these people, that's not how they work, you know?
No, that's what I was going to get to next about how they work, because we are, as I said
But if they're doing that to Karen, I mean, if they're doing that to Karen, yes, you're right. That's one of the, that can be used as a strategy, right? One of the ways to do that is, you know, you go ahead and, if you take them to a civil case,
On top of all of that, we also have the kidnap and ransom kind of deal where they kidnap, they throw you in jail, and they just hold you there until you make a plea deal, which is what
that's everybody. That's almost okay. That unfortunately, that tactic is used everywhere in America, and I actually have a big problem with that. That's one of the things many people have heard me say, and some people have criticized me now because I did take a plea deal. Right. My theory on that one, and the reason being, you know, as far as why, again, it's kind of one of the things about, you know, my thinking on this. Yeah, I did. And you know what? I shouldn't have had to. That's the point. You know what I'm saying? The whole point is I should have never had to take a deal, right? They should have dropped the damn case. And that's exactly what we're going to be arguing in civil court, right? It's like, okay, no, this is not how justice goes. You don't kidnap people, put them in jail, or like they did, you know, like their whole threat with me was this, it was this simple, right? Is they knew they couldn't win, right? They straight up admitted they couldn't win. Right.
Yeah.
But the idea was that they were going to go ahead and they could get one juror every time. Right. They could get at least one guy to say, man, that the state was right. Now, don't get me wrong. That's actually pretty easy to do, even if the place isn't corrupt. But I mean, hell, bribing one juror, that ain't hard. You know what I'm saying? So
we're familiar with that.
Right. And the threat was they were going to leave me in jail and just keep taking me to trial over and over and over again. Right. And they could have definitely made that threat. You know, they could have done that, you know.
Let me point this out to the audience. Ty was charged with 1 count of felony murder, 2 counts of robbery, 2 counts of wearing a mask while committing a felony, 3 counts of aggravated battery, and later also with tampering with a witness, and accused of threatening someone who was cooperating with detectives in their investigation. Now, when Ty made the plea deal, it all got dropped. All of it got dropped, and all he pled to was participating in a robbery, but he did it for a reason. It's not because he was involved in the robbery. And that reason is really important. It means that he's now free to be able to sue the ass off these people and bring some of the evidence in that was never brought into trial. He won't be going back through trial, so that's all done. He's pled to get that all out the way. But the importance of this plea deal is he's now free. He can now do the civil case, and he can now prove he was actually innocent.
Right. It's actually a decent strategy in some ways. Like, I don't really like plea deals because I see what they do with them. Right. But the thing is okay, but I'm sitting there and I'm in jail and they're throwing these kind of threats at me, right? And the problem is, man, okay, they have this leverage over me, right?
Yeah.
Again, I was out on the outside on bond, right? But of course we had to give up money for that. And when they brought me back in, because they violated me on something where I didn't even violate, they just said I did, right? And they bring me back and they put me back in jail. And the whole reason they did that is because they wanted to push me to trial and make sure that I couldn't prepare for trial, right? Because man, it's a lot harder to do with that, harder to do in jail than it is on the outside, right?
Sure.
So okay, so they go ahead and pull all that crap, but they give me a $3 million bond. Somebody just put it up there. They give me a $3.1 million bond. Now, I mean, okay, that's so what? I'm supposed to give them another 300,000? It's like in order to stay out on the streets. I mean, it's like, okay, so they're basically hitting you in your money. They're going to take all your money. They're going to lock you up. Again, it's all punishment, right? They're literally just punishing the hell out of you, right? And it's kidnap and ransom. That's what it boils down to.
Because you were meant to plea out and you didn't plea out, so they bring the weight of the law down on you.
And I mean, look, because I mean, everybody heard that when I went to trial because they offered me no contest and time served, before trial. But here's the thing: is I'm really glad I didn't do it because one of the reasons I went to trial is because look, I wasn't going to have my kids thinking I was guilty, right? I was not, I wanted to go in there and if you're gonna prove me guilty, then you're gonna prove me guilty. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But at the same time, okay, so they didn't do that, right? And yes, they knew the next time we went. Well, the next time they went, the trial was going to look. It was going to get infinitely harder and harder on them, right?
Absolutely.
But to get one juror, they could pull that off.
Right.
But the point being is, okay, the reason I took the deal is this: is okay. It was kind of a lateral move in some ways. I mean, yes, it let me out of jail, but I'm like, okay, I'm sitting in here risking my ass. You know what I'm saying? On a life sentence, right? And doing it the hardest way possible. Doing it from a prison, not prison cell, I'm sorry, jail cell. There is a difference between prison and jail. So, but the thing is, okay, so I'm sitting in a jail cell and I'm doing it with a golf pencil, writing my motions on a pad of paper. And, of course, they've got control of my mail, I'm mailing in the motions. I'd send them out for get copies and all of a sudden my motion would disappear, stuff like that, right? So they've got total control over you, right? Yeah. So that's an amazing amount of leverage they've got on your head, right?
Exactly.
Now,
but just a point, push this home. The black guy who all of the witnesses said did the killing, only got 1 count of murder and 2 counts of robbery.
Right.
The other guy who was with him only got 1 charge of murder and 2 robbery. Ty got like 7 charges all up. 7 charges. When he wasn't even there and no one even pointed a finger at him. And that is proof in itself that it was all just to force you to plea. That in itself is proof. Yeah. It was to force you to...
Well, and I mean, look, and if you look at even the plea that they ended up taking, right? I mean, okay, they're okay. Like, I think I told you this when we first started talking. When this originally happened, I was looking at a life sentence plus 370 years. That's what it would all, if you added it all up, that's what I would have gotten, right? Yeah. A life sentence plus 370 years, right? That dropped down to 910 days time served. Now, if you really think, look, if they thought I was actually a killer, if they thought I actually did the damn thing, there's no way in the world they would have gave me that deal. Not in a million years. You know what I'm saying?
Much. Like,
there's no way.
The amount they've... Like, the fact that they even took murder off the table to get you to plead something is...
That's exactly it. And then, not only that, they also let me plead no contest, knowing I was going to use that to come back and sue them, right? They knew that. I mean, the state attorney admitted it on the radio, a couple days after we made the deal. He was like, he actually told everybody, he was like, he is going to come back and sue the sheriff's department. He's going to come back and sue me. He's going to sue everybody, we're fully expecting it, that kind of thing. And
that's
great.
That's great. Do it.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem, and man, actually, there is one reporter looking at this right now, is he also didn't tell them that they also waived all the fees of prosecution. Now, if we spent, a couple million, how much do you think they spent? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's kind of crazy. I mean, and in a sense, the deal that I cut with them, it actually shows even more, what their intentions were. They didn't care about justice. They didn't care about the community. That's not what this is about. This is about, saving their own behinds, and it's about getting a win. That's all it was. You know what I'm saying? And so now when I go into civil court, I'm going to be screaming that all day. And, when I come in, I'm bringing evidence with me. I actually have evidence of what you did, so it's like, it's going to be a totally different story,
and
it comes in under different
rules. It comes in under different rules in the civil courts. Like
does.
How much they can actually keep out of the trial is going to be totally different to under criminal rules.
Because, we're the ones actually pressing it now. Now they have to deal with the evidence we're bringing. They don't get to make the rules anymore. And, man, here's the other thing. Another one is, the only thing they had on me as far as, anything was the deal they cut with Travis, right? They had Travis's testimony, right? Well, guess what? You can't bribe him anymore. You can bribe him in criminal, in criminal court. Yeah, you can do that all day. That happens all the time, right? Prosecutors bribe witnesses all the time, right? But they can't do it if they're going to go to civil court, because now it levels the playing field, right? Now, you can't bribe witnesses, and neither can I, So, I mean, now if they're going to get John Travis Johnson to show up for a civil case, well, we'll have to wait and see. Let's see if he actually shows up.
Right. So
but the thing is,
the end result is you pleaded no contest, which is not the same as pleading guilty.
No.
You pleaded no contest so that you have this opportunity now to clear your name through the civil courts. So
right, exactly. And actually, Florida does say that in some of the case law, that they've ruled that, yes, you can come back in a civil case and prove your innocence there. Right. But here's the cool thing about it, too, as far as that goes, because, you got to remember, now I'm the plaintiff. They're the defendants. Right. So they're going to have to deal with, whatever evidence I bring. Right. And whether or not it's relevant to the case is, it's going to be up to the judge. But since we're talking about misconduct, there's going to be a lot of things that are relevant to the case. The thing is, but besides that, right, there's also a different standard when you go to civil court. Right. Civil court doesn't have the same standard as a criminal court. Right. Criminal courts, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Right. So you have to be fairly certain. Right. In civil court, it only has to be by a preponderance of the evidence. Sorry, my lips are sticking together. But so it has to be by a preponderance of the evidence. So it's actually, it's a different standard too. So the idea that they're going to win in civil court, no, they're going to, they're going to pray they can settle out is what's going to end up happening.
Right.
No, Phelps did try and sue me and lost. I was very happy that day.
Phelps lost. It goes with the name. Phelps is a loser, as we all know.
Yeah. And the joke amongst us was that she looked like Ric Flair. You ever see the old wrestler Ric Flair? Yeah. It's like us, so we, be like, we always kind of tease her about that. But the bottom line is these people did a lot wrong. Right. And I mean, and here's the thing is, it's not just that they do it to me, right? They've been doing it to people for decades. Right. The only difference is now, man, now they're going to have to actually, they're going to have to actually pay for it this time. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, look,
it's really a big shame that you don't have the federal authorities like coming down on the corruption at all, because like that's what we're seeing in the Karen Reed case is that,
well, and that, don't get me wrong, actually, I did actually contact, and make complaints to quite a few agencies, right? Unfortunately, right now, since I did get out, right, a lot of those agencies would be sending that stuff back to jail. So I actually have to get back in contact with them and go ahead and, reset up those connections, right? But the bottom line is, I mean, I have complaints with the DOJ, I have complaints with the bar, I have complaints with the Judicial Qualifications Commission, I have complaints with the FDLE, right? So, I mean, you know, look, there are going to be some investigations still coming out because of this too.
Yeah.
And look, because again, I know how dirty they are, right? I know the things they're willing to do. But the bottom line is, I don't know how high it goes. I don't, you know, look, that's up to them to investigate and find out. You know, personally though, I hope they get every single one of them, you know, because no, they've been getting away with doing this forever, you know, and yes, I am going to be suing them. You know, so the thing is
so the without you doing this, there is really no federal oversight, which is what there should be. Like, this is what's supposed to stop the corruption, is you have the federal oversight.
You know, and it's not even just the federal oversights. Okay, you know, I have a lot of problems with some of these oversight entities. Like okay, one of the big ones, the Florida bar, right? The Florida bar will not take a complaint from you unless the case is over, right? But unfortunately, if a prosecutor is engaging in misconduct, it's kind of a little late, man, freaking after you've already been wrongfully convicted to go back and file a complaint with the damn bar, you know? But I mean, I've also, I've got my own ideas on, I think we're kind of stupid in this country, as far as it goes. Because, okay, here's the way, man, that it really works. And man, this is kind of sucks. Okay. And I actually have it in my, I have a book that I have a couple books I wrote when I was in jail. But I'm kind of transferring them over, and publishing them. I should be publishing them about in a month or two. But bottom line is, in one of the books I was thinking about it, and I was like, lawyers are the least trusted profession in the country, right? 79% of people do not trust lawyers. The drug dealer on the corner is actually trusted more than a lawyer is, right? So I mean, okay, so people don't trust lawyers, right? But here's the problem with it is, okay, so we have these lawyers who are the prosecutors and the defenders. We have, they actually go ahead and, they go ahead and fight the law. They actually go ahead and go ahead and engage in it, right? But then, okay, but when they move up the ladder, we give the guy a dress and we go ahead and give him a gavel and we call him honorable. Well, he's still a lawyer. He's still that part of that 79%. So why is it all of a sudden, man, because we, give him a gavel and give him a dress, that, man, this man is all of a sudden honorable? You know what I'm saying? I don't think so, right? I don't think all of a sudden he just decided, okay, wait a second, I'm going to be cool, right? So the thing is, okay, so that's what happens there. But then the ones that don't become judges become politicians who make the laws, right? And then we wonder why our country's so screwed up. We're allowing these people, man, who we don't trust. None of us trust them, but we're allowing them to make the laws. We're allowing them to rule on the laws, and we're allowing them to engage in the practice of law.
Yeah, exactly.
So they basically, which runs everything in the country. So these guys are running everything, but they're the least trusted profession we have.
Right. Well, that's where the joke comes from.
Does that make any sense?
That's where where the joke comes from. If their lips are moving, they're lying. Like, nobody trusts lawyers. But to answer your question, Amonra, it wasn't about he was worried about the corruption, or the public defender corruption. He was actually expediting his case by doing it himself. He expedited it by a year at least. If it was done through the lawyers, he'd have just been sitting in jail twiddling his thumb waiting for.
Oh, no. Man, if I took a lawyer, I would have been in trouble. Because, okay, look, man, and I've said this to many people, okay, and that still isn't why I went pro se, right? I went pro se because I had a dirty judge and I knew it, right? And it was the only way I could figure out how to beat the dirty judge. The lawyers couldn't beat the dirty judge. That was a problem. But here's something just for everybody, right? Okay, back when courts first started, right, when they actually first came about, right, there was no such thing as lawyers, right? There was no such thing as a lawyer, right? If a farmer, some other guy stole his chicken, right? They go up in front of the judge and they'd be like, well, George stole my chicken. And I know it's my chicken because, man, it's got my brand on its foot. And, Steve over here saw him steal my chicken, right? And then, man, the judge say, okay, well, what do you got to say about it? Let me see the foot of the chicken, whatever, right? And he'd make a decision on whether or not he thought the guy was telling the truth, right? Well, okay, wait, he's got the brand on there. Steve says you did it, give him his chicken back, know? anyway, so that's how the law worked back then, right? Okay, well, we've overcomplicated it. Oh, because yes, the lawyers are in charge. Makes sense, right? And they actually make sure that, you know, they keep that job and man, keep those nice high $300 an hour prices.
Right.
But the bottom line is they make their laws to protect their own asses. That's why we have stuff like qualified immunity, absolute immunity, all that other crap. And yeah, it's very hard to go ahead and go after them, right? So anyway, so you know, they protect their own behinds.
Right.
But anyway, so here's the thing: if you're in there for some simple case, you know, some you know, go in there for even even a DUI, anything like that, right? You know, you probably don't need a lawyer, especially if you're planning on cutting a deal.
Yeah.
Right. If your plan is to cut a deal, right? What the hell do you need a lawyer for?
Yeah.
You know, your PD is going to leave you in there. I would say this all the time when I was in jail. I'm like telling these guys, I'm like, look, y'all are out there hustling in the streets all the time. You know, you're out there, you know, making deals all on the daily, right? But all of a sudden you go to jail and there's a guy in a suit and tie there, and you all of a sudden are scared, right? What the hell are you scared of? You know, go make your own deal, right? What, you're going to sit in there for 2-3 years waiting on a PD to cut a deal for you? Right. You know, just cut out the middleman. Go make the deal yourself. Right. You
and
know,
all that time gets shaved off because you're doing it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, because look, the way the system's designed, I mean, as far as, you know, getting you to take a plea deal, well, the whole idea is they leave you in jail as long as they possibly can. Yeah. Right. That way, man, I mean, you know, as long as they leave you in jail, well, eventually, you know, you're going to go ahead and, man, take that deal. Right. You know, and look, and I'm living proof of that. Right. Because the reason I did this isn't because, man, I'm guilty. Isn't because, man, they ever proved I was guilty, which is why I can sue them, right? They never proved I was guilty, and I never said I was, right? So here's the thing. That's why I can sue them, right? But here's the problem with that is, okay, still, instead of just doing the right thing and dropping the case because they didn't have any evidence, no, they have to go ahead and get a conviction, right? They have to, right? They're not willing to do the right thing, right? So I have to take this deal or I spend another 4 or 5 years in jail, at least. You know, so I mean, it's like, and for something they know I didn't do it. They know that, you know, but at the same time, no, they're going to make sure that they get that win, right? So that's the way it works. But that, you know, but unfortunately,
over and above them knowing that you didn't do it, it's more to the point. They actually don't have any evidence that you did it, and the fact that they gave
but here's the problem. No, they don't have any evidence. But here's the problem I saw is they were doing this to everybody. You know, when you look at when I was walking around that jail, right? I would say at least half the cases, at least, didn't have any evidence. None. You know, they tell you they have video, they tell you they have this or whatever, you know, but man, I mean, look, a lot of those people, and this is one of the things I used to say to the inmates all the time, because they'd come up and they'd ask me for advice or whatever. And I'd tell them straight up, I'd be like, look, man, you know, the first thing, know your case. If they say they got video, say you want to see it. I want to see the video, right? If they say they've got, man, audio, or they say they got, you know, witness, or they say whatever they got, right? Well, yeah, you need to know what they have before you can ever decide what you're going to do. You know, that makes sense, right? And so, I mean, I'd be like, yeah, you know, go learn your case. You know, I mean, hell, you know, if you want to save your own behind, then man, go save your own behind. But man, you're not going to do it by being stupid. You know, I mean, you can't be ignorant of the facts of your own case. But too many people, they just rely on these lawyers to do it. Well, and here's the sad part is when the lawyer loses, and you guys have seen this many times. I mean, you know, if you've been running these trials, I mean, you know, again, oh, well, you know, we're sorry, man, you know, better, you know, we'll get them an appeal. Right. Well, your behind is the one that's paying for this. Right. I mean, in my case, it would have been a life sentence.
And in some
right.
States,
So, I mean, it's
in
like
some states, you can be waiting up to 20 years for an appeal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, the average appeal time is 8 years. So that's the average. Right. So, yeah, I mean, some people are going to do longer. Some people are going to do shorter. And I mean, hell, you know, you may not even get that appeal. I mean, it's up to the appellate court as whether or not they're even going to accept it.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, and it's incredibly hard as far as all that goes.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, to help the judge. Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. But, unfortunately, that's not the way it works. Prosecutors don't do that. Too many prosecutors are just worried about one thing, and that's winning.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look, I said this about my trial many times because a lot of people, the people who watched it, yeah, I caught them lying to the jury about the murder weapon in their clothes. Right.
Yeah.
Straight up caught them. Because I remember, Alvarez is sitting there going, oh, well, there's no way, the investigators could have told him whose blood was on the knife. The only way he could have known is if he had actually been there. And then I bring a video in that they knew existed. And I bring the video in of, the investigators telling me whose blood's on the knife. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, and look, and the worst part is the judge, the judge actually sits there, and what his first man, his answer to that was, well, I don't see a problem with this.
Yeah.
You don't see a problem with that? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the bottom line is, man, but it's being allowed. And here's one of the things that, man, I've thought of since then. Anybody who watched that trial, and even, and I love Vinnie Politan, don't get me wrong. Y'all may hate me for that, but I do. I like Vinny. But here's the point: is Vinny and all the other lawyers who watched that trial, right? All the lawyers who did watch that trial, well, they all, man, are members of the bar. And what the bar says is, if you see another lawyer engage in misconduct, you have a duty to report that misconduct to the bar.
Right.
How many lawyers do you think watched that trial and actually filed a complaint?
Yeah, right. We had the same thing in the Karen Reid trial when they produced the backwards selling video.
Right?
Nobody, they all complained about it, but nobody did the actual right thing with it. Can I just address what Bits and Bites says? Bits my bite my bits. I'll get it right. What we have in the West is called a. It's not a truth system. We have an adversarial system. We do not have a truth system.
Yeah.
So you need to understand that in the West here. So the truth system, the closest that there is to the truth system is in France. And I think maybe one of the, maybe Switzerland or Netherlands. I'm sure Baker can help us out there. But the truth system is where you are actually getting to the truth. And that's what you're going to try and help the jury discover. But in an adversarial system, it's who's got the best lawyer. That's all it is. That's what adversarial.
Well, I mean, look, and what makes a guy the best lawyer? Really, it has nothing to do with the truth. You just said that, and man, that's actually true, right? It has nothing to do with the truth. It has to do with who puts on a better show. Exactly. That's basically what it boils down to.
Convince the jury to believe whatever.
Yep.
So, and it's a lawyer wins, essentially. It's not a truth system. So I don't even think that France should be held up as any sort of moral, like, great thing, because I don't even think they get their truth system right. But it was just to show the example that, the way you have to watch a French case unfold before you understand the difference between the adversarial and the truth-based, getting to the truth-based system. So, Ty, did you?
No, and I mean, look, I get it, and man, look, the problem is you're fighting human nature here, right? Getting the truth out of people, that's kind of difficult. It's difficult to get people to not lie. I mean, Lord knows one of the problems with lawyers in general is, man, they accept lying as just part of doing business. So I mean that part is a problem. Yeah. But at the same time, okay, we could definitely do better, right? Because one of the things, there's plenty of things I'd like to see changed, but I mean, one of them is definitely what they just did with Rory Wilson and what they just did with Travis, and what you're going to see in these videos, right? And in the case, right? This whole idea that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to offer this guy a deal to testify against this guy, and that's going to be the evidence we use to convict somebody, right? Yeah. No, look, again, the whole point of it, because there's no, I've said many times on different shows and stuff, there's no such thing as a fair trial here, right? That's a myth. That doesn't happen, right? And part of the reason why is because what you just saw there, right? No, I mean, okay, you're getting a guy that did it, right? He was involved, right? And you're bribing him. That's the idea here. You're going to bribe him to testify against somebody you have no evidence against. no evidence saying he did anything, but you're going to bribe him to say that the guy did it, you know? And it's like, okay, that, no, should never be allowed, ever, you know? Because, I mean, think about it. I mean, okay, the defense can't do that, right? Okay, so as long as the prosecution can bribe witnesses, which is basically manufacturing evidence, right? As long as they can do that and the defense can't, well, then it's innately unfair. You know, they can make evidence any day they want to, right? And that's a problem. You know, it's one that it's in every state and every city in the country, you know, but we allow it. And I don't know why. Why do we allow it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, what? Oh, because it makes their jobs easier? No, the point isn't to make your job easy. It shouldn't be easy. You know, go and get the evidence, you know. I mean, you know, we watch all these old movies and, you know, TV shows and stuff. I mean, that was always what the prosecutor used to tell the cops, right? You know, go get me more. I need more. You know, I don't have enough.
Absolutely.
You know, but they don't do that anymore. Now they just go ahead and, you know, get you, you know, they'll hold you until you take a plea. That's another one, man, is we got to figure out what we're going to do with this plea deal situation, because now extortion is not justice either. You know, so I don't know. You know, I may not have all the answers, but I do know that we got some serious problems, you know, and, you know, again, Karen Reed, I mean, it's funny, you know, cause, as we go through this, and I gotta admit, man, I'm enjoying going through this with you.
Yeah.
You know, and going over this, and, you know, again, you know, so people can actually see, because many people have heard me talk about how corrupt this place is, and exactly, man, how bad it is.
Sure.
But you've actually seen some more than even the people that, you know, are watching right now have seen, right? We were going over some of the stuff, and it's like, you know, when again they brought the posse down and all that, you know, the amount of shit they do is just, you know, as you go through this case is insane. You know, but the bottom line is, man, okay, it's also happening in other cases, like you were talking about with Karen Reed, right? It's happening all over the place. And the only way to stop it from happening is people actually have to, you know, go ahead and fight this. They actually have to do something about it.
They have to stand up and defend, you know, what it is. Like, we do have checks and balances. They're just not implementing them. Like, we need the feds to be investigating the corruption. That's their freaking job, and they're just not doing it. They want to do the ones that give them brownie points as far as being elected again, but they don't want to do the actual corruption that affects the actual man on the street. They want to avoid those ones. They just want the big ones that give them the shiny lights. So that's the issue that we've got.
Well, and again, they want to make it easy on them, but they're trying to protect their own butts. It's like I said, everybody's in the club as far as it goes, right? I mean, most of the people who are in power are lawyers. Right. And that's a problem. I mean, okay, you make up all these nice ethical rules that none of you follow. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, like I just said, how many lawyers, including, like, I love you, Vinny, but man, okay. But I mean, how many lawyers watch that trial, watch those prosecutors lie to the jury, and how many of them actually filed a bar complaint?
Not
a one.
So we do have these checks and balances, but people just aren't doing it. So the little guy on the street is the one who's got to stand up now, which is precisely what we have in the Massachusetts case for Karen Reed. The little guys are out there on the street. They're out there protesting. They're going to try not to get DA Morrissey elected again. These are the things that you need to do if you want change in this respect. You've got to get.
Well, I mean, and don't get me wrong. Yeah, I would agree with you. And one of the ones, because my channel that I'm starting as far as my channel, and one of the books I have, you know, that I'm putting out, it's called Pro Se Revolution. And man, it's basically how you can use pro se as a means to attack the system from within, right? Because and I've said this on a couple other interviews, but I mean, look. If everybody in that jail down there in Monroe County, and we all know, I know it's dirty. I mean, you guys are going to learn how dirty it is, but I mean, I know it's dirty, right? And here's the thing is, if everybody in that jail decided to go pro se tomorrow, it would bring that dirty system to a screeching halt.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no way they could handle it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I mean, it would cost them a fortune. And literally, I mean, they couldn't deal with the speed of a pro se defendant, you know, especially all of them. If everybody did it, they'd be screwed, you know. But the bottom line is it's a way to fight, and it's a way for the average person to fight. Now, I'm not saying you do it. Look, there's lots of reasons why you go, you know, hell, you don't even have to say pro se through trial. I mean, there's lots of reasons why you know, I shouldn't say why. There's a lot of reasons how you can use pro se to advance your case, right? And that's what I ended up doing in mine. You know, we'll talk about that when we get closer to the end.
And then how to
But, I
use
mean,
the
you know,
plea deals to get yourself into a position where you can prove your innocence. That's a really thing. These
exactly.
are things that people look down on. They laughed at, probably because the lawyers aren't making the money from it. They're probably the ones that are spreading these.
Well, and I mean, look, the whole point of it is, man, look, the whole point of it is, look, to win as far as you go. I mean, you know, you're trying to win and, man, trying to get, you know, again, what you want out of this, right? I want, look, I want to be, you know, everybody see that I'm innocent, right? I want them to see the truth, right? Well, in order to do that, how do I do that? Because they're not letting me do it in criminal court, right? In criminal court, they're going to keep on, man, holding me hostage, right? Using that leverage over my head, or pulling me back from Oregon and putting me in jail again.
Keeping
You
out
know what I
the
mean?
exculpatory evidence and so on.
Well, I mean, and how much of my life did they destroy doing that? I lost 7 years of my life, right? I mean, you know, my son was 14 when, man, this started. He's, you know, he's over 21 now, you know. Again, I mean, you know, financially, emotionally, I mean, again, you know, as far as my marriage went, did that affect my marriage? You're damn right it did, you know. I mean, and, you know, everything in my life, you know, so it's like, it's, you know, you've taken and taken and taken, and you were going to keep on taking, right? Unless I could find a way to end this and end it in a way that I could still go ahead and prove my innocence, because that's important to me too.
So both of those
you know?
things played a role in that, like being pro se to start with, fast forwarded everything for you, but also being able to take the plea deal that also fast forwarded it all for you. So what you have effectively done that the lawyers won't tell you is that you've cut them out, you fast forwarded everything to the point where you can now sue and prove your own innocence. So just
well, and again, there's also benefits to it too, and man, that's one of the things I write in both books, right? I mean, there's benefits to look. It all depends on the position you're in, right? Sometimes, man, you're going to need that lawyer, right? I mean, you're going to, like, okay, with my civil case, you know, my civil cases, no, I'm not going pro se. I'm letting my lawyers take care of that. You know, I have no desire to sit there and fight these civil cases. They can go ahead and do that. I'm giving them everything that they need. I've got, you know, a mountain of evidence they can go ahead and have. I'll even help them go through it if they want. But I mean, you know, really, do I need to go in and do it? No. You know, I mean, they should be able to handle
speaking
that.
of, you are actually trying to raise some money to help pay for lawyers to do this next part of the.
Well, no, I mean, no, the lawyers, that's a whole different thing. I have a different situation, and you kind of got a taste of that the other day. You know, when we were talking and we were getting ready for the show. The thing is no, it's because at this point, man, you know, I'm in a fairly bad financial strait coming out of jail. And, you know, again, I don't want to get into all the personal details with it because, you know, there's been some issues with that. But yes, I am doing a GoFundMe, and it's to try and, man, get me back to where I was somewhat.
So briefly, let's just,
you know, at least until I go through the court case with my wife. That's let's put it that way. That's what it boils down to, is I have to go back to court with my wife, and then I shouldn't have a problem. You know, hopefully that'll be soon.
Just to clear that up, there is a rumor going around. We don't know who started, but there is a rumor going around that the GoFundMe is being used to take your wife to court, but that's not it, because I'm looking at it right here and it says you got $110. So what were you doing with it? Like,
yeah, no, the thing is with that is, okay, I mean, again, I don't want to start anything, you know, as far as going into all the drama of it. And that's why I tried to keep it very, you know, the description kind of simple on the GoFundMe in the first place. But the situation is okay, I went to jail when they pulled me back, right? And my wife went ahead and filed for divorce when I went to jail, which meant I could not respond. Right? I couldn't. There was nothing I could actually do about it. So basically, she got a default judgment. Right? And there's some things with it, that go along with that. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to file to have it. They call it set aside. Here some places call it vacated. This one, man, is this state. It's they set it aside, which basically means it opens up the divorce again, right? Which means we're going to actually have to do it the right way this time. But one of the other things is she also went ahead and got rid of most of my belongings. And the belongings she does have, which I'm not sure I'm going to see, I don't know, hopefully, we'll see. But the bottom line is, she supposedly does still have some of my stuff, but she hasn't returned it, so at this point, I'm still wearing the pants that I wore when I got out of jail on November 26th, so basically the money that I'm asking for at this point, it is actually it's for me personally, just so that I can get to court, and we're actually, the first court date is coming up on the 27th. So hopefully, and look, I didn't want to do it this way. That's not what I wanted to do, just to make sure everybody knows that. But it is what she wants to do. So at this point, that's what we're going to do. But, and because again, it's look,
probably up.
And I know some people out there have been getting dramatic about it and all this other stuff. And and there's been all kinds of different things going on. And the thing is like, again, none of that helps. Right.
No,
it really doesn't.
not helping it.
Right. The whole point is like, look, we go to court, we take care of it. And then it should be, everybody should be fine, hopefully. Yeah. Right. But the bottom line is, one of the reasons we're going to court is because we couldn't solve it among ourselves. It's that simple. Right. If we could, then we wouldn't be going to court. Right. But unfortunately we can't. So, but it's not something where people need to get all crazy about it. Right. You know what I'm saying? And there's been a lot of mudslinging and that kind of thing. Right. And no, that's not something we should be engaging in, but unfortunately it's already been going on. So it's we'll have to wait. It's all going to pan out. I just know that it's better for both of us if we just go to court, or we just settle it out of court or whatever we're going to do. But, but the bottom line is not get engaged in a whole bunch of mudslinging and, again, things that are not helpful. And, don't get me wrong, personally, I'm not even trying. Look, I don't want to fight with her at all. The people I want to fight are sitting down there in Monroe County. And right now they're laughing because, man, we're sitting here fighting each other, but that's, unfortunately, it is what it is.
My question is, do you want me to share the GoFundMe? I've got it here on the screen and I can share it, but I don't want to.
I'll leave that up to you because I know I don't want to bring drama to you, to your channel. You know what I mean? Because there has been quite a bit of drama about it. So,
that's right.
But
so I'm going to put the link in here. So this one is to help you get the divorce out.
Just basic stuff. It's like, okay, actually one person actually has already come forward and they were going to mail me a laptop. You know what I mean? And a laptop would be real helpful right now as far as getting those books transferred from handwriting over into actual books, where I can make my own money. But not only that, it also helped, as far as, settling out the divorce or not, I shouldn't say settling it, but, getting that actually, getting it all done as far as it goes, right? That would actually help too, right? But there's plenty of things that will actually help with this. It's just that, getting from point A to point B, and when I first got out, I didn't have a belt. I didn't have shoelaces, because when they extradited me, I didn't have any of those things. So it's been kind of an uphill battle coming out. And I do appreciate though that people have actually been helping with it. And, I've got a lot of people who are on my side and trying to help me.
Yeah, we can handle drama over here. We're doing pretty good on the drama front.
No, I
But
was actually, look, I've noticed that. I've noticed that you you definitely you keep things to the point, which is good. So because it's like, look, sometimes people have a tendency, they get lost on things that are not important. I mean,
Right.
it's like, look, I mean, you can sit there and call each other names all day. It doesn't mean anything, and it's not going to change anything. That doesn't do anything.
Absolutely.
So it's like, and it's not stuff that people should be engaging in.
So essentially, the GoFundMe is to get this part over with so that he can move on with the hiring a lawyer, for which you'll probably
Well,
set up
actually, I'm not even planning. I don't think I'm going to have to hire one. Right. I am actually going to have to go. No, because I mean, at this point, I mean, look, there's so much litigation in there that you're talking about, I don't know how many millions of dollars. Right. But the point is okay. Because I mean, you're talking about lots of civil rights violations. Those are high dollar lawsuits. You're talking about defamations. You're talking about a whole bunch of different suits. And one of the things this is what I plan on doing and how I plan on handling it is I'm going to go ahead and put together a packet, right? That kind of gives us a summary of the case, what's going on, identifies some of the lawsuits that we already know. We also have already taken it to civil court so they can see how it's done already, which we actually won 3 times. We won 3 times already. But the thing is, okay, so, and also gives, some of the estimated amounts that we already know, as far as, what would, what it would look like if it went to trial, what it would look like if they settle out, right? What are the averages for those type of suits?
Right.
But anyway, put a packet together and then go ahead and start soliciting, some of the law, because I want to go to some of the bigger law firms. I do have one that's already on deck just in case. That's for a different case in Florida, and it's actually one where their client is actually trying to get me to come down there and help him with his case. Because he knows. Again, it's another one against Monroe County, and I seem to be the go-to guy for if you want to go stick it to Monroe. Yeah, all of a sudden I've got a reputation for being the guy to call. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But he's looking at the litigation down there, and his litigation is similar. It's just not nearly as big a scale. The stuff they did in this case was it was insane. I mean, like I said, you were reading some of it today, and it's just like, I mean, it's like the amount of stuff they did. I mean, everything from the jailhouse snitch to bringing the posse to the courthouse. I mean, hell, that one. Because at that one, I have the FDLE. You talked about those outside agencies. Yeah, I made a complaint on that because, okay, they closed that complaint out because they fired Phelps. Okay, well, the officers who did that, and especially the ones who knew why they were there, not all of them, but the ones that knew why they were there, they committed about 10 to 15 different felonies by doing that. I mean, it's, you don't walk into a courthouse and think you're going to go ahead and threaten the lawyer and threaten the defendant inside the courthouse while court's going on. I mean, that's a lot. You're looking at crimes for that, right? And pretty heavy duty ones. And the thing is, but instead of, but I actually filed I actually wrote to the sheriff's department and asked them to reopen that complaint because they didn't look at it, any of the crimes that were committed. Nobody got charged for that, and it's like, okay, well, you're not above the law, and really, it kind of sends out a bad signal when you say it's okay for cops to go down to a courthouse and threaten people, and nobody gets in trouble for it, So it's like, okay, that's not exactly a great precedent to set, So anyway, so man, I went above their heads and went to the FDLE now because they refused to open the investigation again.
Right.
So
fair enough. So for those who are worried about GoFundMe, they don't take 50%. They only take like 10%, I think it is.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they take that much. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
I think it's down around 3% for the transaction or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's because I know I just read it and man, I can't remember the exact number it was, but I don't think it's 10% unless they've got some hidden fees in there.
Let me just have a look, because I did have a GoFundMe going. I need to have another look.
Well, and the cool thing is like I said, you know, somebody's actually sending me a laptop. That actually is going to help out a lot. You know, even more than the clothes, actually, because I'm willing to be in stinky clothes as long as I can get to work. You know, that's kind of my thing. It's like, you know, right now,
2.9%. There's a transaction fee of 2.9%. That's all it is, and it's for processing the payment. And you'll find that PayPal does the same thing. It's a transaction fee, which is still, I think, only around 3%. PayPal. What else is there?
I actually do have a PayPal account. I do have that already. It was funny because, okay, when I went through, you know, when I went through my wallet, my wife actually did send me my wallet, but it had my cards in it. And the thing is, but most of my cards were useless. You know, most of them had, I was in jail for 7 months, almost 8 months, you know, something like that. And so most of those cards were useless, but the one that actually was still good was my PayPal card. So I got that fixed up, and then I have a Cash App where I'm having a new card sent to me because that card wasn't in there. So I changed it and got a new card. But that one's being sent. So
we can do your Cash App and all that sort of stuff in the next stream. You'll have them set up by then. We can actually start.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I appreciate all the help. I really do. And it's like, again, it's hard for me sometimes with this. You know, it's like I could probably raise funds for, you know, all kinds of other things, but it's not exactly easy, you know, for me doing it for myself. I don't know. It's tough for me.
No, we
but
want to help you, and we've got the crowd here to reach out to. So they do want to help you. They just didn't want to be spending, 50% or whatever it is.
No.
I thought it was in transaction fees, and it's not that high. Those are just rumors.
No, and I mean, yeah, of course, man. I mean, look, I mean, charities, anytime, man, you do a charity or something like that, I've always, man, again, I want to know how much is going to the charity. You know what I'm saying? It's how much is being taken out in fees. I've had,
30 cents goes to the charity, and then 2.9% on the transaction fee for GoFundMe. And we will, in the next show, we'll give you some more options to pay other ways if you would like to.
I'm actually working on some of those. There was also the woman who is sending the laptop. She works with a program, some program called Tidings, I think. I have to talk to her a little bit more about it, but she was, talking about being able to try and help. So, I mean, yeah. And the big thing with me, and this is, really, because, I feel bad because it's like, look, if my wife and I can get this taken care of, then, this wouldn't be necessary. Right. And the quicker we get it done, the less it's necessary. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so now, it's about getting into court and just, taking care of it, and that's basically it.
So next video that we do, we're going to see how soon I get set up with a laptop, but we would like at some stage to get some of his receipts up on the screen, but we can do another one in between if you guys want.
Well, here's what I'm going to do, right? I thought about this actually before we even came on today, right? Because, okay, I sent you those articles, right? And I told you, okay, again, you talk about the misconduct and, if you read those articles and you see what came out from the lead detective, it's like, okay, and then they slapped a gag order on us right after that. Right.
Yeah.
So those are the only two articles that come out in the paper because, man, they shut us up real quick. Right. I mean, again, the way they manipulate things is outrageous. But
let's do that.
What I was thinking is I'm going to go ahead and get some of those documents. And since we don't have a website anymore, right? The website and that went by the wayside a while ago. But since we do have those, we have the Facebook page. We have the the YouTube channel, and there's a few other channels we have, right? The thing is okay, I was thinking go ahead and we're going to revamp those anyway. We're going to make them so that they're, again, so people can actually look into this case, right? And do it on their own, look at all the evidence, go ahead and investigate for themselves and see what they think, come up with what, because look, there's going to be be a lot of big questions that come out of this, right? When you start digging into it, this thing actually ended up with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
You know, because the whole Anthea Clay thing, right? That becomes a big deal, right? There's a whole thing, you know, a whole bunch of different things. So, you know, and again, you know, there's no justice in this thing. I'll tell you that right now. There's no justice in it, none of it. But not even for Rory Wilson, to be honest, right? It's like even he doesn't get justice, right? Because okay, he gets. You talk about ineffective assistance of counsel.
Yeah.
You know, that guy got one of the worst lawyers I've ever seen. You know, so you know, it's like okay, you know, she showed up to a murder trial with an empty notebook and a pen. Doesn't call a single witness in his defense. You know what I mean? It's like okay, you know, granted, and man, you heard how much I don't like Rory. I don't like Rory, but it's not about who I like. You know, that's not what it's supposed to be about. You know, it's about everybody. You know, again, I do believe in the idea of a fair trial.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way, right? And no, that's not fair. You know, he's supposed to get a defense just like anybody else, right? Unfortunately, you know, and although actually, unfortunately, a lot of people are getting shitty defenses, right? But at the same time, I mean, that's kind of the thing is like, okay, even he isn't getting justice either.
Yeah.
You know, the idea is, you know, that everybody, man, look, you're supposed to get your day in court. You know, you're supposed to have an adequate defense. You know, effective defense. You know, that kind of deal. You know, but at the same time, that's not the way. That's not the real. It's not really how it works. And how you change that, I don't know, man. But you know, I've got ideas. You know, and I'll keep putting out my books. And yes, I am starting my own channel. I don't know if I told you about that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I did.
I put it into the chat for you already. So on the next one, I'd like to go over those links that you sent me, which outlines more of the case, and those lead into some more of the footage that we can show from what you've got on your channel so far.
Well, and that's the other thing is I'm going to put, like, that was what I was getting to, is I'm going to make sure that any documents that are really important as far as the, you know, again, getting to the bottom of, you know, all the misconduct in this case. And man, actually, you know, looking at it, you know, the really important documents. Yeah, I may make sure that those are available to you.
Those will be once you've got a laptop, because we'd like you to share them with us on your laptop.
Exactly. But the videos we already have, right? And I can put some documents onto the YouTube channel, right? I can still do that. Same thing with the Facebook, right? But I, you know, because we've done both of those before. But the link I sent you to the second article, the second article I sent you, that one actually has a link to Pitcher's entire depot, right? That's the lead detective. And
from that, I've got your internal affairs notice. I've got the statements about the Fantasy Fest photo, the $100 bill that turned up, that ended up being. Yeah, so I would like to do all of that in the next show, which is still not even getting to the court case yet. So, if you
it's going to take us a second. But and look, I'll get with you, you know, this week, and we'll go ahead and we'll figure it out, and you know, get another show up, and you know, go ahead and we'll make sure we have, because like I said, that one, okay, you don't need to watch all of the interrogation room videos. They are interesting. I'm not going to say they're not, you know, but there is one that you do need to listen to, right? Because that one, I mean, literally, you know, it goes from, that's how I become a suspect. You know, literally what ends up happening is, you know, I go to, you know, Metro PCS to go pay my phone bill, right? I'm actually going to pay my phone bill. And Rory Wilson, he's, you know, I think he was outside when I came out, you know, but anyway, I come out and he asked if he can walk with me, right? And I don't know anything's wrong, right? I have no idea, right? So anyway, but, you know, I told him I was going up there, you know, I'm going to go, you know, pay my bill and go to Burger King, whatever, right? So anyway, he walks with me up there, and at that time, a CI pegs out Rory Wilson as Detroit, right? When I'm at Metro PCS paying my bill. Right. So the detectives go up behind it, you know, go up behind us, and they pull up, man, you know, my phone record, but they also pull up my Facebook page. and booyah. There's the profile picture. They know they're looking for a white boy stabber, right? And there I am on my profile picture, posing with a knife. So Phelps is immediately, and you can hear this on the tape. It's actually, it's actually, recorded. She's just like, there's your white guy, right? Nobody even asks a question. Nobody questions it at all. After that, I'm just the white guy. And they just theorize about, who stabbed who and, who's going to be the weak link and all this other stuff. She's even admitted twice now, right? Once in the criminal case and once in the civil case when she got, depositioned. And both times she said there were only 4 things that she had, that said, that made her think I actually did it, right? And to this day, she still thinks I need to go to prison, right? But okay, the 4 things they had is I was white, that I was staying in the same building, that Rory Wilson went with me to go pay my phone bill, and that stupid Halloween picture. Now, if you think somebody should actually be, go down for murder based on that, I don't know. It's like, and again, and take 7 years of my life to go to a trial and then do all, go through everything we've gone through because of those 4 things. It's like, that, and look, in the end, of course, a trial, they didn't have just those 4 things because they went ahead and bought themselves a witness, which we talked about that earlier,
Multiple witnesses. So yeah. All right. Well, let's do that. Let's get another show booked for, tomorrow, the day after, and get to the point where we can start talking about the trial.
Yeah.
Because we have plenty of footage that we can share with the trial itself. We've got plenty of avenues that we can go down just to cover all of this. Sorry, I'm making another copy.
Well, actually, you know what? We should probably, I'll see if Drip Drop minds us pulling that video that he did as far as the audio for the interview room, the interview room tapes.
Yeah.
We may want to see if we can borrow those because, while the ones we have up on our channel, you can hear it, but it's again, you're talking about it's a recorder that's in a separate room and you're hearing the audio, you're hearing them talking and they're in a different room. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, the audio quality wasn't the best, right? Like I said, Lauren had to put on Bose headphones to hear it the first time. But he actually enhanced the audio. And, it was funny because I'm going to ask another guy to do it when I was going to go to trial so that the jury could actually hear it, real well, but we'll have to see which one, because, one on our site, people have actually used it and, they've been able to hear it. So we'll have to wait and see. But we'll get together and I'll try and come up with some of the videos and look, there's actually one of the things we are going to have to do. There's some important things that happen in that first video that we didn't get. And I'll go ahead and make a little list of some of the things that, we didn't get to see. Because of, and people can still go look at it for themselves. But
stress about the audio stuff because I'm pretty sure I can get around that because I got some boosters and things.
Okay.
Tricks for
that'd be great.
So we can cover, I guess, the next show we can cover. We got out the way today what we needed to get out the way. Why you pled guilty?
Well, yeah, and then we got the very beginning right, and but that, like I said, there's a couple things that happen in that first video, because remember it's 2 hours long, right?
Right.
One of the things is when they bring Anathea over. Anathea, man, this starts the big question mark on Anathea, right? Because when they bring her to the crime scene and they let her because remember, Paula's saying she set this up, so she's a suspect, and they just let her wander around the crime scene unattended. And then, every other person who ever gets interviewed for this, or interrogated or whatever you want to call it, every other person for this gets a video, video interrogation or a video interview, and they sit down and they actually, ask them questions or whatever, right?
Right.
Anathea, on the other hand, shows up at the crime scene. You got to remember, she's only 2 doors down, right? She's 2 doors down from where the murder took place, right? And she supposedly is the person who set this up, right? So anyway, they bring her down, and when they bring her down, they just have her sign a statement, and it's like a 1 minute and 40-second video where, man, she doesn't say anything really, but it's just her, basically signing the paper and handing it over, right? they never asked her a damn thing, you know?
So they basically wrote something and she went, yeah, okay, and signed it.
Well, no, she just wrote like a written statement, right? And then she was allowed to leave. Now, this is a suspect. You know what I mean? When does that ever happen?
Yeah.
You know? And then you got to question why, right? And then, and you really start to question why when I told you, like, I think I told you about that, where, you know, for 2 years they were saying they couldn't find her, right? That, you know, she somehow just disappeared, right? And, you know, well, do you have a warrant out for her? No, but we have a bolo and da-da-da-da-da, right? And the thing is, so we're going to court because we want to talk to her too. We want to know what happened, right? And if she set it up, she's, you know, somebody you want to talk to, right? But more importantly, you know, she's a suspect and she should be facing felony murder charges, right? If she set it up. But anyway, so it turns out there's even more evidence that man comes up with her. And I'll talk to you about it later because we're keeping everybody awake, I think, now at this point.
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's do another show. Can you do tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm sure I can.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to think of, man, if I don't think I have anything going tomorrow. Except for court. I do got to go to court. So, you know, once I get done with court, then we'll be fine. So we could actually do it around the same time if you like.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, around the same time.
Yeah.
There you go. We got part 2 tomorrow night. We don't know how many parts this is going to be because,
lots of corruption, lots of cesspool, you know. I started thinking about Anathea because, okay, you know, then you're going to have she actually wrote a pseudo confession, if you want to call it, on the wall of the crime scene, the day after the murder, right? And nobody tells us about it for 2 years. You know, they never actually, you know, collect photographs, you know, never, you know, actually collect the evidence. Some of it, man, gets painted over. But, you know, the only way we found out is from the Paula's deposition, you know, and it's crazy. And she tried to attack Paula. Was it the day after the crime when, you know, after she got done, you know, putting this pseudo confession up on the wall? And why was she left on the crime scene to do that anyway? You know, there's so many different questions. It gets insane. You know, like I said, it's a rabbit hole upon a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But Anathea is kind of a big part of it. She's kind of a big part of it, at least what the defense came up with. And this is not just me. This is when I actually had lawyers and Lauren, you know, we were all, you know, trying to figure out exactly what happened. But, you know, Anathea is a big part of it, you know, so it's like, at least, you know, for all of our theories. But that's kind of where, you know.
Since you brought it up, let me just also say that there's a certain amount of this that needs to be credited to Lauren, because
all day.
Right, she actually
You
helped
know,
you cover all this stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, look, I would never take that away from her. You know, I mean, look, I mean, literally, you know, Lauren put in a lot of hours on this case. And she matter of fact, okay, those interview room videos that we're gonna look at the one, those, she found those, right? Because you got to remember, I was in jail at the time. I couldn't watch videos, right? Eventually, we got to a point where I could, where we brought in a private investigator. But even then, I couldn't sit in. You know, like I said, there's 2,800 hours worth of video. I couldn't sit there and watch videos, right? So anyway, but she was smart enough. I mean, look, those tapes specifically, they don't look like anything. So everybody just kind of, tossed them to the side because they just look like an empty room, right? No, she was actually smart enough to go ahead and put on the headphones and listen, right? And she catches everything. I mean, literally everything. Matter of fact, it's because of that tape, the one that we're actually going to be listening to, that's the tape that got Phelps fired. It's not for, but it's there's a bunch of different stuff on. And again, you talk about incompetently corrupt. It's like, so you guys go ahead and leave an interview room camera going so you can record yourselves while you're talking about setting me up. Real good job, guys.
But it was Lauren that's largely to thank for some of this stuff. So we do need to remember that even though he's getting a divorce from her, this is basically
but that has nothing to look, one thing has nothing to do with the other. Exactly. Right. I mean, the bottom line is man, did she You know, okay, first off, is Lauren a hell of an investigator? Sure, she is. There's no doubt about it. You know, matter of fact, I mean, look, you know, when we were working together, I mean, the hell, that was when, man, look, you know, there wasn't there. Let's just put it this way: there wasn't much that we missed, you know, because if Lauren didn't find it, then I would, and if I didn't find it, she would. That was pretty much it. There wasn't many angles we would miss.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, yeah.
You're a good team, and that needs to be acknowledged. I
Well,
would
yeah.
just like to close out with that, because we don't want Lauren to think that this case has anything to do with the other stuff that's going on, and that we're still give her
No, and that's the thing. Look, I've never taken away what she's done on the case. I've never taken away, man, how brilliant she can be. You know,
Right.
I mean,
and it would be really nice if you could actually team up again, like if you could sort
no,
out.
I mean, look, that was actually what I was shooting for when I did get out of jail. We actually did try to do that, right? There was when I first got out of jail, that was what we were discussing, and we were discussing exactly that. We were, discussing putting our differences aside and going after Monroe. That was the idea, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't work out. When I decided to come to Portland, then that didn't, she didn't like that idea. You know what I'm saying? So,
Fair enough.
it caused a rift as far as that plan went. Let's put it that way.
At the same time, though, it's good for her to know that no one's coming at her sideways. We'd actually be more. It would be better for everyone if no one was coming at each other sideways. That would be good.
No, and look, I've always that's the way I always wanted to be, right? I didn't want any of this, but unfortunately, look, she definitely has her own ideas, and I have mine, right? And really, yes, I thought it would be much better if we could go ahead and put our differences aside and go after Monroe County, right? Because Lord knows they're the ones who did the most damage to both of us.
Yeah.
I mean, for all of our crap, it's kind of hard to beat their crap, So, and not only that, yes, I mean, it did cost a lot of money, and we should be going and getting it from the people who made us spend it. You know what I mean? So it's just, there's a lot of things in here that again, my thoughts on it are different than hers. And I don't really want to go, too much farther into it, because I don't want to run the risk of, making anybody get mad or anything like that. Right. I'm not trying to talk shit. It's just, it's unfortunate. Let's put it that way. It's unfortunate we haven't been able to get past our differences, so.
It is. So I think we can end it there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this stream. We'll bring you part 2 tomorrow evening after Ty's finished up with all his court stuff tomorrow. And we'll go into the second part, still leading up to the trial and all the shenanigans that were pulled during that period tomorrow afternoon.
Yep.
So that's 6 p.m.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll see you tomorrow. And we'll bring all kinds of, new dirty stuff for you.
So it'll be 6 p.m. Ty's time, and it'll be 2 p.m. Sydney time for those who are watching the clock.
All right.
You can hang around for a minute, Ty, and I'll just end the stream.
Yep.
So goodbye, everyone,
no problem.
and to all the mods who were here tonight. Thank you so much. Also, Barney, I unblocked you. You're back in, mate. So, all right, bye, everyone.